came with you to be part of something. The Empire cannot win. It's a different kind of mission. If it goes up in flames, it will burn very brightly.
Welcome, everybody, to Back in My Day. My name is David Petrangelo, and this week, the not-so-stereotypical millennials have quite a bit to talk about. We got some movies and some TV, all within the Disney universe, as we continue to do. We have Star Wars, and we have Marvel to talk about. We'll get to that in just a second. But this time, I am lucky enough to be joined by...
Michael R. Power.
And Ian Walter.
Gentlemen, welcome back. We are just a couple of days removed from recording probably like one of our favorite episodes. Like, I just feel like it's really fun to sit here and talk about movies, predict what may or may not do well. The summer movie wager, at least our picks are behind us. So if anyone hasn't listened to that yet, check out the previous either this previous episode to this or two before this. We'll have the summer movie wager where we'll choose which movies, or predict at least, which movies will top the North American box office. Lots of Disney stuff and superheroes and stuff to talk about there too. But that's always a lot of fun. So listen in on that. And that's how we got our feet wet after a little bit of a hiatus and stuff. So, but now we are back. We are in it. We are going for more. We are, two things we're going to talk about. Andor, that show has wrapped up. We've all done our homework and watched that show fully. Some of us have watched it multiple times. And the other set of homework was watching the latest Captain America movie, which I was late to and just watched over the last couple days. So those are the two things we'll talk about. I think really, because we do have quite a bit to cover, we'll just sort of jump right into it here and talk about Captain America: Brave New World. That's the full title, right? I believe. I don't think I'm missing any subtitles or nothing. Yeah. You guys both saw it in the theaters, right? I believe.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I was late. You were really late to it, Dave. I was late to it, but I managed to catch it in the theaters.
Yeah.
Like one of its last weekends.
Yeah. I'm late. I watched it once it came to streaming, essentially. So as of us sitting here, I think it came to streaming within the last week, and we watched it within a few days. We said after our last recording we got homework to do. These were the two pieces of homework. Some of us had to finish Andor. Some of us had to watch Captain America. So that's what we did. Mike, I'm actually curious. I feel like I don't know how you feel about Captain America, either going into this and what you felt about the movie. We will likely, we will, I'm not going to say likely, but we will be spoiling both of these properties, the latest season of Andor, and we're just going to go and pretty much just say that we're spoiling Captain America as we talk about it as well, because we want to talk about some of the details and why we may or may not have liked certain parts of the movie or what's coming next or whatever. So all that to say is, Mike, what'd you think?
I liked it, but I think it falls, unfortunately, in the bottom tier of my MCU ranking as like the lower third or lower quadrant. And like I thought it was good. It was enjoyable and entertaining. The biggest sin of the movie is that the trailer that was blasted to everyone that you couldn't avoid gives away the third act reveal. And it's sorry that it hurts the movie. I would love to go into that movie
without
does
knowing
hurt
this. The movie. Yeah.
Even though I know from the comics who, Thaddeus Ross turns into, like Ross has been in other movies and didn't turn into the Red Hulk. So, when they were going to play that card could have been a mystery. But I really did find myself like waiting the whole movie for the scenes that I seen in the trailer, right? And it's like at the very, very end of the movie. It's such a shame. Big disservice to the movie there, I think. Other than that, I really like the fact that it picked up some threads from The Incredible Hulk, even though that wasn't my favorite movie, and that's also low in my rankings. I just think that,
and like, you wouldn't be you would not be the first person to say
like the black sheep of the MCU.
Of course, it feels like it's forgotten. Honestly, like it really does.
Came out the same year as Iron Man, just as old. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. And them trying to redeem that movie is admirable, I think. And them picking up these threads that like have been, what year did it come out? I'm just gonna look at quickly. That
Which
have
one?
been like sitting there 2008 for like
Yeah, same year as
almost
Iron
20
Man.
years.
Yeah.
This thread of like I'm talking about Tim Blake Nelson, leader character, like these things they seeded in earlier movies, and I think it's like, I don't know if this is the main reason, but a lot of people are saying online, I see a lot of criticism a lot, but a lot of the MCU like post credit scenes are like meaningless and go nowhere. And I think this is them go nowhere, being like, oh no, we could pick up any thread that we lay in any of these movies like whenever we want. Like you got to watch it all because you never know. So, anyways, I thought that was cool, even though the movie as a whole didn't really hit the mark for me. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars because I didn't think it was a bad time.
That's not too bad.
But yeah, it's not like I didn't think it was awful, but most Marvel movies to me are like a high bar. So a 3 puts it, in the bottom quadrant, but still would overall say I liked it and that it's a decent movie worth checking out. And everyone does a great job. It's cool to see Harrison Ford in the MCU. And yeah, that's about it. I don't know. What about you guys? I'm interested to hear what you guys think.
I'll go last since I watched it last. Unless you guys want me to go next, it's up to you.
No, that's
Yeah?
perfect because
Okay.
I think I'm a little bit more positive than Mike. I wouldn't say it's a high on my rankings, but I did have a really good time in the theaters. This is the first time I've seen something in 4DX, and I got to tell you, I was debating getting
You told us
popcorn.
about that when you went. Yeah, I forgot about that.
This was insane. I was like sitting next to my brother. I was debating getting popcorn, and I was like, "Yeah, you know what? Forget it. I have a beer in my hand. I'm good." So we're in these like almost like roller coaster seats, right? That can like rock around and whatever. And that opening sequence is literally like it's about to go into the action sequence. It's Cap. He's flying through the air, Sam Wilson, and he goes in for that big superhero landing.
Yep.
And when that happens, 4DX, the whole theater lit up and shook like upon impact, and my beer went straight up in the air and landed down on my lap. I was like, I was blown away. Well, like there was still some left in the cup.
Okay, good.
But, like
good.
I was already
like an
halfway
open cup
into it
too?
anyways.
Oh man.
Like yeah, I was holding like an open glass of beer, like a pint, and I was already halfway done it. But what was in there, like some of it came out and like kind of landed on my lap, and I was just floored by how much of an impact that made. Because I have watched the movie again, and like that moment isn't too big when you're just watching it on your couch.
It's
but it was
cool, but
massive
it's
in the
not.
theater.
It's not like the biggest
Yeah.
thing ever. Yeah.
It like blew me away, and that kind of got me in the mood for what it was. I think that there was some solid action in this thing. You're gonna hate this power, but I thought it was a cool like bonus series finale to Falcon and the Winter Soldier series. I thought it kind of picked up on.
Oh no, I like that series. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's kind of a tease ahead to our Andor discussion because
Oh yeah.
Andor bleeds right into Rogue One in the same way that I feel like I don't know how much enjoyment you'll get out of this if you haven't watched that series. So
Yeah, you're
I
definitely
do
gonna
think-
miss some stuff. Yeah.
yeah, I do think that some of it, like the Isaiah Bradley stuff, really hit hard for me because I knew what he had been through from that show.
Right.
So I think there was a lot to enjoy from this movie. There were a couple low points, I guess. I agree with you, Power, that the big reveal. I just think in this day and age, unless we're trying to stay blind to the marketing completely, we wouldn't have been fooled on that. But at the same time, wouldn't it have been cool if they had done a trailer where, yeah, you see the Hulk fist or something, but it's green, and they just tricked you in the trailer, and then they made it red? That would have been cool.
Or you
Like,
just don't know who it is.
You think Hulk is in it, but it's actually going to be Thaddeus Ross.
Like, is it not obvious? I can't remember when I first saw it. Is it not obvious? Don't they make it part of? Didn't they make it part of the trailer and definitely part of the marketing after that? That it was Ross that turns into him. That's
but it, like,
part of the issue.
yeah,
like I don't know. I don't know that he.
teaser.
I don't know
The
that he turns
teaser
into
is
that.
not so bad, but the full trailer does make it pretty obvious. And
Yeah.
to Power's point, if you are familiar with the character, you know where he's headed eventually. But
I mean, me coming in as somewhere in between. Like I know there's a Red Hulk. Like I know that that's a thing, but I don't know who it is. I know it's not Banner, but I don't know who it is. I don't really know who this Ross guy is at all. Like I don't.
Right.
I want to go in and look. If the scene that we'll get into this maybe a little bit more, but really for me, the scene where he almost hulks out on the ship.
Yeah.
Okay, great, cool. Now I know that might be possible, or now I know where that
Right.
may have come from. But to like basically put his face on everything, like what if I went to the theater and I didn't know that it was him? Essentially, the poster has Red Harrison Ford on it. Like, what am I?
Yeah,
what the
yeah.
hell? You know, like
This is
when
true.
you walk into the
We've talked
into the
about
doorway,
Harrison
like,
Ford selling his likeness to Disney.
yeah,
But
like,
yeah, I mean, you can get to your overall thoughts. I just wanted to make the point that I did really enjoy Harrison Ford's performance. I think he's the GOAT. I'll watch anything with Harrison Ford in it, and I thought he was pretty solid. Like, rest in peace to William Hurt. Obviously, someone had to pick up the mantle because the character is still kicking around
Right.
of Thaddeus Ross. And so Thunderbolt Ross, interesting name there. I don't think there's any current connection to the Thunderbolts film, but interesting that he turns into Red Hulk now. And now we've got a Red Hulk in the MCU. So yeah, I thought it was pretty good.
all right,
We can get into the details, but I thought it was a pretty good movie.
yeah, we'll just like pick certain scenes or things and stuff. This was a real roller coaster of enjoyment for me, this movie. Like, I think some of it was like, oh, this is fun, and a lot of it was, this is lazy. This is not good. Like, I don't think this was a great movie at all. I think
the movie had production issues too, which I think was pretty obvious.
That is something. It was had a bunch of reshoots. Like, I think Giancarlo
Esposito wasn't even part of it.
Wasn't even part of it. And he's like a fucking like huge monumental character as part of the story goes and stuff. Like, he's not in it that much physically, but what he contributes is massive in a couple of different scenes. I think what really hurts this, one, maybe the production definitely has something to do with it. You know, you gotta have some sympathy for that for sure, regardless of the result of the movie. I think that would hinder any kind of production in any movie or show, which we've seen in other franchises and other movies. This isn't the only one, right? So that does suck. But I think this is the most homework heavy movie they have ever made, and I don't.
Oh, 100%.
I don't think that does it any favors at all. What the hell is the thing in the water? Does anyone even remember who his daughter is?
And you barely know what that is because you didn't watch Eternals.
Well, yes, exactly. I mean, I only know of it because I know of it, but I'm not the general public and knowing that is related to the Eternals. Most people, like my wife, has no damn idea that has anything to do with it. But the fact that, you know, Ross's daughter is in this, somehow you have to remember that they're trying to explain a movie from 2008 that very few people watched or remember. I've seen it maybe twice, probably not for at least a decade, if not more. I know she's in it. I didn't know she was a daughter. Totally forgot about that. I just know who she is because she was in that movie. Does it matter to me? No. They want to make you care about a lot of things that happen in this. And unless you watch multiple shows and movies and are remembering those details, I don't think any of the emotional beats work at all in this movie for me. Like, I don't care that that's his daughter because I don't care who she is. You're basically meeting a new character. I don't care who the new Falcon is.
Yeah, they treat it like a surprise. They don't set her up. Yeah,
they don't set anything up. She's barely in it. It's okay. She doesn't need to be in like the entire movie and a main character.
Let me ask you this: so, if they had stuck to Sam Wilson talking him down and then left her for like a post-credit surprise, would that kind of help things at all? Or,
well, she only shows up at the end when he's in jail. That's all.
Right. So if they had left it out of the movie and put her in a post-credit scene, like, oh yeah, Betty Ross is back.
But I don't know I don't think that would tell you who she is. It still wouldn't.
But it wouldn't affect the plot of the movie. In that case, it would just be Sam Wilson.
I still don't think she. I mean, yes and no, because maybe there's less baggage there, and some of the stuff I'm talking about would not exist in the core part of the movie. So yeah, there could be something there. But what replaces it is I don't know what replaces it, because he apparently walking with cherry blossoms is such a big part of his life. And that's the only thing that, like, I was just like, oh my God. The thing that
Anthony
killed me
Mackie.
the most was he tried to do it and said, well, that didn't work. I was like, oh, that's good. That's a quippy Sam Wilson, Spider-Man-esque type thing. And then he tries to beat the shit out of him. And then he does the exact same thing 4 minutes later, and it works. And it's like, what? I don't like, he talks about his daughter and the cherry blossoms or whatever else he says, basically taking the same approach, and then it shrinks him back down to life, so to speak. And I'm like,
I know.
So
what's
the
anticlimactic kind of
and that
ending
particular
in the final
scene,
fight?
I think it was cool that they were busting up the White House and stuff. I thought that was a cool idea. That was fun. But the
Love to
second
see Hulk raging out finally after how many years.
it is cool to see. I think and I said this actually as we were watching it. I was like, this is just a prime example of someone who's sort of in the middle of knowledge of what's going on here, and then my wife who just basically knows from the movies and that's it, and some of the TV shows. We're like, I was like, you know what's always cool about the Hulk and what they did with Banner as well as you know that's the actor because they have really good technology around their face and stuff, but it doesn't look exactly like them. But if you didn't know that was Harrison Ford, you could probably say, hey, Harrison Ford's the Hulk. But it looks very detailed and interesting. I like that the close-ups of their face of both of them, and all three of them have always been pretty cool to me. But the rest of it, once they left the White House, I was like, this looks like shit. Like the fight by the cherry blossoms on the highway or whatever road that is, and looked terrible to me. It just looked bad. And my wife goes, well, I said that about the face. My wife goes, well, it's a shame the stuff around him doesn't look good.
Right.
And
I thought the action in the CGI was pretty good, actually. But
it was until that point. I think that point stuck out, and it's supposed to be the climax, right? That's the ending, and it just that really brought it down. I don't know. I think some of the stuff was fun, but I was never super
That's fair. I don't
engaged
think you're in the
with
minority.
anything that was happening. I don't know.
I feel a little bit bad for Anthony Mackie that he as the first Falcon Captain America, he didn't get a better movie. And you know what's weird about Anthony Mackie? I don't know if you guys knew this, but it's like Chris Evans retired and they handed it to Anthony Mackie, right? For the Captain America. You know Anthony Mackie is almost 50 years old. He's 4 years older than Chris Evans.
He looks great for that age.
He's 4 years older than Chris Evans.
Oh, I thought they would be the same, 45. Each of them would be 45 or something.
That blew my mind. I was like, what? He's 47 years old?
It looks like he's 25.
He's just taking on Captain America. It's weird.
Remember, he was the antagonist in 8 Mile. He's been around.
Yes, he's been around for so long. And so is Chris Evans. But it's in my mind, I thought, Chris Evans, the old guy, retired, and they passed the mantle to the younger actor until I found out that the other guy's 4 years older. Anyways,
that's so funny.
I will defend a little bit them doing the Celestial Island stuff because a lot of people use the fact that there's a celestial hand that comes up in the Eternals, against the MCU. And they say, it's just been ignored in every movie. And then they find.
I hate that they finally pay it off, and it's a negative.
And everyone's you have to watch the Eternals to understand it. And
it's not that it's that specific item or that specific.
I'm not saying it's your critique, Dave.
No. But it's not that that is the problem. That it's that one thing. That is one of many things. That's what it is. Add it to the list kind of thing. That's what it is. I
agree with that. It's a very MCU fan kind of movie.
You have to, like you said, you have to watch the show, which I didn't love, but was pretty good. At least it tried to do some different things, especially with U.S. Agent literally killing someone. I was like, fuck yeah. Why? That's the show that has balls because it did that, right? That was cool.
Okay, so
this movie has none of that. It has none of it. It has no.
I know it doesn't have the balls. It's very
it doesn't do anything I haven't seen before. Anything.
It's true.
If I would
just
say
one, two things before I'll go to Ian. So
number
one, it introduced adamantium into the MCU.
There you go.
That's notable.
You beat me to the punch.
That's awesome. Number
Wolverine's coming, ladies and gentlemen.
You guys probably didn't pick this up. This is deep cut. There's a character who's named Dennis Dunphy. Okay, he's the soldier that Captain America deals with a little bit. You remember that guy?
The guy that
gets killed.
Yeah, he gets killed at the end. Yeah, which was such a throwaway scene. I was like, okay,
he gets killed the same way the Ten Rings guy gets killed in Iron Man. The same kind of thing.
That's a deep cut comic character called D-Man or Demolition Man, and he has his own.
Is he really?
He has his own Disney Plus special Lego called Mission Demolition, and it's this D-Man
what?
It's like a Demolition Man. His character is powers of that.
You're saying the multiverse needs to bring this guy back? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, he's in the comics, and he has these weird powers where he
looks kind of like Diablo or whatever, or kind of like Wolverine.
He looks like Wolverine and Daredevil mixed together.
Right. Okay.
But he's perfect for the Lego because it's Demolition Man destroys everything, so it's a perfect Lego like character. So like, anyways, Disney Plus special is good for kids.
So what you're telling me is the multiverse will not necessarily bring him back, but it will bring back Stallone and Wesley Snipes from 1992 or whatever, whenever that movie. Those guys are part of.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's the next.
Demolition Man.
Yeah.
That when I
Great
saw
movie.
like
Great
that guy
callback.
pop up in Brave New World, I was like, oh my god, that's awesome! Like they're giving this soldier this like deep cut for. So like you said, Ian, it is a Marvel movie for Marvel fans. There's a lot of deep cuts in the movie.
Yeah, I didn't
and
even catch that one, to be honest with you.
Nice.
I think
Anyway,
like a hot fix, like if they're gonna make this one integral to whatever they're doing, like leading up to Avengers Doomsday and all this,
I think it has
maybe
to be. Yeah.
I would have preferred She-Hulk to not do the pivot that it did and to stay on course with some sort of storyline that matched up with whatever's going on with the leader and maybe play into that because it's all Hulk related. And then you could have teased She-Hulk's appearance in the movie instead of Red Hulk, left Red Hulk to be a surprise and that kind of thing. Because there was a rumor at one point that She-Hulk was going to be involved in this movie. And she could have been part of one of the drafts, like earlier drafts. I just think like if you're gonna make it integral, then make the other pieces fit in with what's going on as you work towards it. Because like you said, Falcon and the Winter Soldier was so long ago. It was the second series on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Do something to let the audience know that there's other things you need to watch.
I think they put to. I mean, and again, the production of this probably is hindering what it was able to do, and that's unfortunate. But I think they tried to make a popcorn movie, which is okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But that popcorn movie had way too much heavy lifting to do, and reintroductions and introductions, that it just was juggling too many reintroductions and heavy lifting when it didn't feel like that kind of movie. Like it wasn't presented as one that was, yes, it could be connected and be a bridge to the next set of movies. Nothing wrong with that. That's great. That's totally fine with these characters, regardless of it's Hulk or Cap or whatever it is, right? But I just don't think that they knew what direction they were supposed to or needed to take this in. And anytime they tried to get emotional, it felt forced. Any of the wisecracks between Falcon and Cap felt totally disingenuous to me. I don't mind
Brian,
those characters, but the dialogue for at least 50% of this movie for me was terrible. It was so much exposition and all the relationships felt forced. And I don't know if that's just script writing. I don't think it's the actors, but I think there's just too much going on in 2 hours, and they're trying to do too many serious things with something that wasn't presented that seriously, and for me anyway.
It's a crime we didn't get more Sebastian Stan in the movie.
Yeah,
it's a bit of a crime we don't get Sebastian Stan.
That was a good scene. I like that.
Like they have to put them together. They have such good chemistry. Like they hold that Cap and Winter Soldier, or Falcon Winter Soldier show together, and it's so fun to see them every time off screen, like and on screen. Like they're such a good dynamic, the best dynamic probably of anyone in the MCU. And like I almost wish, like they made 2 different movies with them. If they had put them together in one movie,
I kind of wish there was a bit more of a through line between those 2 movies. I agree with you.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
They did drop
as far as
hints of things that happened in Thunderbolts with that character, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, and that's the other thing too. Is Ross not supposed to be connected to the Thunderbolts? Isn't that the whole idea here?
Well, it's just he's not a factor.
No,
like he's not in
so
the
they just
story.
changed
Called
that.
Thunderbolts, and that he's called Thunderbolts Ross is like a weird coincidence. It's not like they don't have a
Like I would love them to do some creative writing to get that into a place where it makes sense.
Yes,
but right now it's a coincidence.
At one point, like that actually doesn't have anything to do with each other. He's just called Thunderbolt Ross. They're called Thunderbolts for another reason. They
In the
actually don't have
dumb
anything
reason.
together. Yeah, it actually is not. It's just a coincidence that they have the same name. But
Oh,
me and
that's
Ian were saying
weird.
in a previous episode of Trailer Talk, they could use those threads and then make it make sense.
And I
Sure.
think that's
Make him
still
be the one.
open. I think it's still on the table.
I mean, he's still
anyways,
alive, so yeah.
Well, not if it's
I
a
just-
Thunderbolts movie. Because
I'll mention- I think it's Danny Ramirez as Joaquin Torres Falcon. He went for it, but I think he fell a little short of the mark. And I think to the point that you were making, Power, is because the relationship between Bucky and Sam Wilson is so strong in Falcon and Winter Soldier. Like Joaquin Torres is really taking a back seat in that one. He's just kind of there, and he's a friend to Sam, but he's not the friend. And so to make the leap to like the faithful sidekick in this one, it's a tall order for him.
I know
What I will
they don't
say
have
though,
that funny rapport. He's just like obsessed with him and just like loves everything that you know uh,
Mhm.
Sam does, and it's like there's nothing really there. It's just like puppy dog to
Yeah,
the
I think that's
leader.
the
And, like,
writing, because I don't think that his portrayal of the character, both of them, I like they're both. So this maybe is not the right way to go about it, but because I have more connection, love, and sort of experience with a character like Spider-Man, it feels like they're both trying to be Spider-Man.
Mhm.
That's what it feels like.
quippy
Quippy and stuff. And it's okay to be quippy. That's great. Cap can be quippy. Evans's version of Cap was too. Like, great, no problem. But it just felt way too forced.
It's just not the way that with the way that uh Falcon and Winter Soldier like interact with each other. It's like they chirp each other and they like,
Yeah.
and that's like the way
Yeah.
guys kind of interact, right? The kid little
Yeah.
digs at each other, little chirps, but like they know they love each other at the end of the day, and they're like
Yeah.
Yeah,
sarcastic
like
with each
Sam's
other.
more
It's like,
annoyed with this guy
yeah, they're like,
because of his
yeah, he's just
admiration
like
for
this
him.
guy, and this guy's admiration for him. It's like it's not. It feels so like fake and weird, and it's not natural. It's so it doesn't like hold together in the movie.
Yeah, like
But
he can have that personality, but it doesn't need to be in that way, like
yeah,
that. There, there's
take more
something
digs at each
there,
other
and
or
there's nothing wrong
something.
with having a character like that. I think they just tried to do it over and over. Like the time when, like that scene where he's in the hospital towards the end was just terrible. I was like,
Right.
this is not funny. This is not emotional. And then it just sort of ends, and you're like, oh, it felt awkward. It felt awkward because what they were saying was so unnatural. It was just like, I don't understand what they did with these. Like, I think a lot of that has to do with weaving a script in all these reshoots and these ideas and whatever, needing to potentially connect them to something else. Like, I do think that may have had a lot to do with it. I don't know for sure, but it would not surprise me. And that sucks because there's something there. It just doesn't
Right.
hit in this movie.
I gotta ask Ian what he thought of specifically. Let's talk about the character specifically of the leader. Okay, Ian,
Okay.
what did you think about like that? That deep cut coming up being like the main bad guy in the movie, and then the big thing I want to ask you is like the design of the character, because I know I've seen the like online footage and like the reshoot. So like the leader from the comics, it's like the Hulk.
Yeah,
Where
he's-
Hulk's super smart, but it's like in the brain. So Hulk's super strong, so it's like in the brain. It's like the Hulk brain version
yeah,
of the
he's
Hulk.
got this
He's super strong.
massive.
Yeah, this
He's
is
got
like a
massive
huge head.
It's like
Yeah.
massive head.
Yeah.
They didn't go that way in this movie. They went with like he has like weird bumps and stuff on his head, but like they
Yeah,
did
yeah.
apparently do a version of the movie where like Tim Blake Nelson had this big prosthetic. Like look it up quickly if you can. This big kind of like egg head prosthetic, more comic accurate. And
Right.
so I feel like I would have been way more down for that. Even though I love the fact that they used him. That's my favorite part about the movie is that they picked up this thread from the Hulk and then used it as the main bad guy in this movie. I actually love that fact, that point.
Is
But
this
what did you think
real
of the-
though? Like that one there?
Yeah, that's it.
Why
That's
not?
it.
That's not that crazy.
That was the original design.
I gotta be honest with you. Like I've seen those critiques, and I thought the design was fine. Like I thought he looked enough like the leader from the comics. He didn't have a massive head, but even that version that you showed me. So yeah, they would have won with the bigger head, but he has hair. He doesn't have hair in the or does he have hair in the comic?
I don't think so. I think it's all
does that in
like pustules. It looks like coming out of his head
Yeah.
and stuff, right?
So I
Yeah.
thought the look was fine, and
thought it
his
looked pretty cool.
function was fine. He was a bit of a mustache twirling villain, but you could understand how he was scorned by Ross and wanted to get revenge. Like it made sense.
Yep.
He was more in the background. Like yeah, he was a big part of it, but he was like kind of pulling the strings. And I think there's something terrifying about that, especially when he's calculating everything. He seems to know the outcome of everything. Like I think it was fine. It's just like he had to kind of split time with Giancarlo Esposito, and it was just like there wasn't enough development, I don't think. But having, for an MCU fan, knowing the setup with the Incredible Hulk, I think it does pay off. Is it Tim Blake Nelson?
Yeah.
Yeah, he
was-
like
he reminded me
in
very much
that
of, like,
movie. They have the setup where his head starts to
Yeah, it's
bulge
like
and everything.
bubbling and stuff, yeah.
So I mean, it's there and it works. It's just not like super strong. Like, he's not one of my top villains for sure, but it's still like it's kind of this homage almost to like they're trying to give Sam Wilson a Cap
I feel like they were
story
trying to
arc
create
here, and I think
Sam
it kind of
Wilson a Captain America Winter Soldier movie. I think it was very
yes.
similar
And
because it
if
was
you
like,
treat it like a trilogy, though, like Winter Soldier and then Civil War, or a Sam Wilson trilogy, it does kind of parallel Winter Soldier
well, I
in
think Winter
those
Soldier is
ways.
the best Captain America movie, and they were like, let's kind of give him kind of movie, but like he didn't have the like character from his past to come back, like Bucky, and like he didn't have so like they did it with the president, and him and the president have this relationship, and the president is the one that turns, he has to fight at the end. There's a lot of parallels, and the leader character is like the Zola character, right? He's like the one in the bunker that reveals the plan. It's like a lot of the beats, and there's sleeper agents within the
Yes.
government. A lot of the story beats and arcs are super similar to the Winter Soldier movie. To Dave's
Yep.
point, it makes it feel like it's not very new. That's the one
Right.
negative with
Yeah.
that.
It's not
The Winter
unique.
Soldier is such a good movie, so but it's like them kind of doing a take or a remake of their own movie, like kind of soonish after, which is a new character, and it's like I don't know. I actually prefer what they did with Sam Wilson in the show. Like I actually thought he was handled better in the show.
Well, they had more
And
time with it too,
they got
right?
more into
So
him being like the first Black Captain America and all that. They got a lot more
none
into
of that,
that.
none of that,
None of that
none of
was
that
in
stuff comes up.
this.
Nothing comes up.
Yeah, and so
There's absolutely
it's
no
like they were
depth to
scared
this
to go
movie at all.
there,
Like,
to go there and get any political at all.
No.
And I
Like-
think if they made him his own movie and not tried to copy him from before, it almost would have been better. instead of
yeah,
more.
like the president is the bad guy, eventually, right? Or pretty much is pretty much the whole
Is,
time.
yeah,
You know,
villain in the
they
end,
don't. That doesn't even.
They sort of know that going in there, like, oh, we got to deal with this guy, but at least we're like trying to work together.
But he's like
right?
on his side. You're changed, man. Your daughter with going for a walk. Like, dude, what the fuck, man? Like, you've lost so much in between. Like, you see him at the beginning of the movie is his acceptance speech, where like we have no sense of why Cap has any relationship with this guy other than a little bit of a discussion when they go to the gym, 20 minutes into the movie or something, just to say, I support him because he's a changed guy. We're together to make the country a better place and blah, blah, blah. But it's just none of it feel. And then he shits on him 20 minutes later. And it's like, well,
yeah. In the
stop
show,
working with him. What the fuck you like? What do you
Yeah.
like? He goes off on his own and yet he still tries to work with them. Like either do it or don't. Like, what do you
Yeah, I know.
like?
In the show, he struggles with the fact, like, should he be
That's
Captain
right.
America, right?
Which
And it's like,
he does for a little bit, and then he decides to go off on his own. And I think that's a cool decision. And they have a cool couple scenes, and they discover the information. And all that's great. I get that. But like I just said, and then all of that gets wiped away because he goes right back to him, as if he can
Right.
still be trusted. And what you've
It
just
didn't have
seen
any
leading up to
balls,
that
right?
moment
Well,
is he
He
shouldn't be
does
trusted.
need to confront him about what he learned too, but I know what you mean.
That's
I want
true,
to talk
that's
about
true.
one other character in this for sure, at least. But I do want to mention, like, so where some of the emotion didn't work for you, I thought some of it did, and that was Carl Lumley playing Isaiah Bradley.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
picking up where we left off in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and just everything was believable with him. The
Yeah.
fact that he did not want to go back in, and this whole mess that Sam Wilson kind of helped create is now throwing him back in. I really felt that, tugged on my heartstrings and like wanted him to get redemption. And, we relied on Sam Wilson and his whole mission to do that. And so that part, maybe the Betty Ross stuff didn't work as much, but like the Isaiah Bradley stuff.
That's a good
definitely
point. I agree. I agree for sure. I love to. I don't know if this was in when he was in the movies previously, but he keeps calling him OG, which I love. I thought that was great. That's a great nickname for him and stuff.
And
that
the
works.
character we haven't mentioned yet, and there might be some telling to that, is I think the actress is Shira Haas.
Oh, yeah.
But it was something straight out of a Bond film. Ruth Betzeroff.
Ruth, yeah.
Like all bets are off.
Just,
What do you guys think of this widow character?
Fine.
I don't know. Is she someone that we're supposed to know? Because I don't know.
She's a widow from the comics.
Well,
that's about it. She's new.
they said she's a widow.
Which
So just
they
whatever,
teased
but-
in Shang-Chi that there's a bunch of these widows running around now that they're freed from the events of the Black Widow movie.
Right,
So-
which I get, and I thought Black Widow was pretty good. I think we all kind of enjoyed that movie and stuff too. Like it wasn't amazing, but it was pretty good. So I like that you're seeing another one of them, but I don't know. There was a few scenes that she was in that just like, oh, what are you doing here? Like,
I'm not sure it's gonna be like we're gonna see her in the Avengers or she's gonna be like a lasting character, but
yeah.
Is it fame? Because, Sam Wilson's putting his little team together here that he's like working with,
which they also
take
didn't
down
get to. They didn't get
the
to that
leader.
at all.
Oh,
I
yeah,
thought they were
the
going to
next
plant more
Avengers?
seeds to him making some team. Anyways, I think we should.
I agree.
The longer
I
we
think,
go on, the more it sounds like we're
no, I
negative
just
about
think
the
the
movie,
widow
but-
character
I am,
fell a little
so.
flat,
Well, you-
but I think the idea was there, but they just didn't execute. Like,
Yeah,
they
she's
could have got
the-
someone that was a bit more recognizable, maybe even someone from the Widow film, and then that
that
would have been
actress is in a very, very good show that me and my wife watched a few years ago. I got to find the name of it.
Unorthodox.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, fantastic show. Obviously, a very, very different role of someone who wants to escape the Jewish Orthodox community and life and stuff. What a so intense. She's incredible. Like, that's where we recognized her from, and I was like, oh, this is great. Doing something different is cool. I like seeing her and stuff, but yeah, I don't think the character did much more.
did
than
enough to like warrant a second appearance.
No, I'd be happy to see her again, honestly, because I like the physicality of the Widow characters. I think that's cool, but I don't know that I'd have this big like woohoo, she's back in the next time she shows up. That's all. It would just be like okay, cool.
Johansson made her debut in like Iron Man 2 and was kind of like similar, right? It was kind of like a widow that was working for Nick Fury or whatever. So I don't know. It's like there's just so many characters now in the MCU that I don't know if this one's going to be one that we're going to see.
Right.
There's her. There's the other Falcon.
They're hinting that Falcon's going to come back. I feel like maybe not.
I think him of the end of any of them will always be like with the Sam Wilson Captain America.
Right.
So.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I mean, you mentioned that we covered most of it, and we don't need to belabor the point. But I don't think we can really close the loop on this without talking about the post-credit scene.
What post-credit scene? All he does is say, "Hey, stuff's happening." Bye.
It's not an eventful post-credit scene.
No.
I agree, Dave. For someone like you, but the possibilities that it represents towards what they're building towards with the Avengers movies does get me a little excited. It wasn't the best post-credit scene, but from what I've read in the comics, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, Power, it feels like they're
remind me of the scene, because I'm drawing a blank here. I know I stayed for it. But...
Okay, the scene is basically just revisiting the leader, and the leader promising that the others are coming.
Right.
So the leader is smart enough to see, I guess maybe not on a Reed Richards level, but he's smart enough to kind of see the probabilities that the multiverse is becoming a problem.
Right.
And that these incursions are happening. So the first thing that I went to when he said the others are coming is that is a direct reference to what happens leading up to Secret Wars, in the sense that there will be an incursion between two universes, and there will be a battle between the heroes of each universe.
In a battle world. Right?
Yeah, and that could be seen in the events of Avengers Doomsday or something leading up to Secret Wars, but it was something that was like, okay, we're gearing up here, and I think Sam Wilson would be an important piece to that, because in the comics he was like fighting on the front lines. He was Captain America at the time that it was called the arc was called Time Runs Out, as it led up to Secret Wars. Yeah.
If you want to read that. The second Secret Wars, right? The most recent one, yeah.
Well, the 2015 run.
2015 run, yeah. Not even second. Later than that, 2015. Yeah, so, no, I think it's a safe one. They didn't like do what other post credits do and like introduce someone new or something. It's like the others are coming. That could mean lots of things. So it's kind of safe, but it actually doesn't really give too much, even for someone like me who's intimate with the comics. Like, the others are coming could mean a lot of things, so they're playing it safe, I think, with that one.
I'm telling you right now, it means the other heroes of another universe, and they're gonna have to fight it out.
Yeah, you're probably right, but they could go back and say no. It means
potentially Avengers versus X-Men.
Oh,
that'd be cool.
Now we're talking.
That'd be cool.
I think
that might be like Doom's game plan in Doomsday.
If we have our tinfoil hats on,
Secret Wars.
If we have our tinfoil hats on, I will say that they're saving that for like the next thing after. That would be my prediction.
I think we're gonna get Avengers versus X-Men, but not like brand new cast of X-Men. Like, I think they've announced that a bunch of these Fox X-Men characters are going to be popping up in Avengers Doomsday. That was part of the big announcement.
Right.
So I think that we're going to have, like, before they ultimately have to face Doom, there's going to be some infighting between the Avengers and the X-Men.
They're gonna do Avengers versus X-Men and Secret Wars in the same event. That'll be crazy. I would love to see that.
Yep,
In the same movie?
could happen.
That's
No,
Same
two,
two-part movie.
like a
Oh,
1-2.
I was like,
punch.
that's a lot.
Like
Yeah.
they don't maybe they don't know that Doom is ultimately pulling the strings, so they
Right,
start fighting one another before they team up.
Right.
So
I mean,
take them
that'd be cool to see them fight each other. I'm down with that. Yeah.
Let's go. Hugh Jackman versus Chris Hemsworth or something like that.
Huge ass man versus Thor.
Well,
Let's do it.
So the way it works in the comics, and it's kind of like one of these impossible questions, right? Because you've got universes with heroes in both,
Yeah.
but they're colliding, and only one. You have to take out the other universe in order to preserve their
Yeah.
own.
So which one moves
Yeah, it's
on?
like who's the
sort of
good
thing.
guy in that situation?
And
right?
so
Everyone's
we've
right
already
guy
seen the
versus
pieces
story.
of that with the Marvels, where spoilers for the post-credit scene. Monica Rambeau ends up in the Fox universe,
Right.
and she's now palling around with the X-Men.
Right. I forgot about that.
And they
Yeah,
are
yeah, yeah.
right in the middle of breaching 616.
See that
main
that's
Marvel
that's
universe.
that's the thing
Or
that
incursion.
I always liked is Mike, you just said it the right way, like who's the good guy in that moment, who do you root for or whatever, like that's what I love, the idea of Civil War, but I don't think the movie for me portrayed that and made that work, whereas something like this, maybe it's just more obvious, or maybe it's just because it's not just the Avengers fighting each other, it's X-Men and Avengers, and something about that maybe work and is more obvious because they're different universes or whatever. But like, that's why Civil War, the concept of Civil War is so interesting, that's one of the reasons why something like this is kind of the same thing, right? And I think that would be a massive event. Something like that, depending on what comes before, could be, depending on how many people are going to theaters when that comes out, like obviously that could be
Well, that is what they're building towards. So
of them fighting, yeah. But that could be, depending on what leads up to it. Doesn't even necessarily have to be 15 movies or whatever it was before Endgame, but it could be bigger and better than what they've done previously because it involves the X-Men.
There's always the possibility, right?
Yeah, because it involves the X-Men, it could be a bigger deal. And I would, as long as they're great movies leading up to it, which a lot of the previous ones were leading up to Infinity War and Endgame, they were great movies. But like, if they can reach a similar bar, which I know is very high, that 3-movie event thing could be just as big, which would be crazy and awesome. Because those are obviously very good movies too. So.
Just quickly before we move on, is it pretty much a given that the Secret Wars they're doing in the MCU is going to be the 2015
Certainly seems that way.
Jonathan Hickman?
They might
Wars and
pull.
not the original Secret Wars from the Jim Shooter one from the 70s?
As I stare at
Pardon me?
issue 8 from the original Secret Wars in 1984, 85. Yeah, I really hope that they pull ideas from the original because they want to pay homage to Secret Wars. But I honestly believe that the 2015 run was so successful that they'll use that as like the narrative that they want to kind of.
And the giveaway
Stick
is that
to.
the person pulling the strings in the original one is the Beyonder, which they have not mentioned at all. And the 2015 one is Doctor Doom, which we know who's playing that. So that's kind of the giveaway if you're paying attention and you're a comic fan. Like,
It doesn't mean that they won't do the Beyonder. I just think that at some point Doom will get the upper hand.
they won't, but I know Doom also plays a part in the original. So maybe it's gonna be a mashup of the two. Like, I originally would have thought it would be the original one that they would do first. But I think the MCU, the way it is probably closer.
More modern. Because it's
More
done
modern,
like the Civil War.
the way
and
the
all
characters
this
are
other
in the
stuff.
2015
Yeah, because Civil War is
story.
pretty new too. Yeah.
Yeah, so I can see them using a lot more of that story because there are differences between the two. But all right, I'm just wondering if it's been mentioned, but that's just sort of the speculation, and I guess, responsible speculation.
I just
based on
got
what
my
we get.
fingers crossed. That's it. I still have to see Thunderbolts,
it's
so
gonna
we'll
get
go
named,
from
don't
there.
worry. You don't have to worry. It's gonna-
Let's
To be continued in our Thunderbolts talk.
to be continued. Exactly. Once I do that homework, then it's on to that one. Okay, gentlemen, let's talk Star Wars.
But if I'm giving up everything, I want to win. We have to. We must stand together. We will be crushed.
Resistance is absurd.
It's a weapon.
They're building a weapon.
The monster will come for us all.
Revolution is not for the saying,
You're right here, and you're ready to fight. There's a future here for those who dare. Welcome to the rebellion.
It's time to talk about Andor. I think what we're basically going to be doing is going through some of the story beats. Again, similar to what we just talked about. It's going to be hard to catch absolutely everything, but we'll do overall thoughts of what we thought of the show, of season 2, and I think we're on record here saying that season 1 was awesome. I think we all really, really liked it. I, for one, I don't remember exactly if you guys were on the same page. I, for one, there's no question that it was the best thing that, not that Star Wars has done in TV form, but that Disney has done in TV form, like since Disney Plus came around, like no question. And I don't think season 2 for me changes that at all. It just continues the momentum and does a fantastic job. It does do some stuff different, but it is just Tony Gilroy and the team that he has around him creating another incredible set of stories and making us care about characters, or at least some of them, that we know what their fate actually is. For me, that's hard to get past sometimes. But in this, other than, oh, Andor's in danger, I don't know if he's going to survive. No, I know he will. Everything else around that, I'm fucking in, like it was just a fantastic ride. So many great stories, so much compelling information, and not just filling in some information that we may or may not have needed to know, but giving us more that we didn't know that we needed, and giving us more context leading into a movie and then the original trilogy as well. That I think, I don't know if you can make the original trilogy better, but I do think that it does give you some more light into how you got to that point. And it's just fantastic to see that was handled well. So, yeah, you're muted.
Well, me and Ian, if you remember, listeners, and Dave doesn't remember, but I had Andor season 1 just behind Mandalorian season 1. I had it second in Disney. Let's just talk about Disney Star Wars and Disney Star Wars movies or shows. And Ian had it right behind Ahsoka, I believe. Ian had Ahsoka first, and then Andor season 1. But we both left it open for, let's do Andor season 2 brings.
Yeah, we want to look at the whole picture, right?
Sure, that's fair. That's fair.
Well, that's true. I will agree with Dave in that I've always thought Andor was the best written thing on Disney Plus.
Yeah, I mean,
Disney Plus Star Wars. Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
100%.
All right, Ian, did you think it wrapped up? Was the season as a whole worth the ride, worth the wait, and does it continue like you guys were just talking about? Does it keep it going?
I really look forward to getting into the details, because I think where the audience already knows how Power and I feel about the first half of season 2. Right. I think 7, 8, 9, particularly 9, is like the strong kind of peak of the season.
I agree.
Maybe series.
Yeah, I think that's yeah.
And like everything else is enjoyable as far as 10, 11, 12 go. Like we're gonna talk about the third arc in season 2, and then we're gonna talk about the final finale arc.
Yeah.
But 10, 11, 12, as great as they are, I think 9, 10, and 11 is kind of like that sweet spot of, okay, it's just hard hitting action and bring us closer to the events of Rogue One, but also like really kind of paying off and closing the loop on all these characters we've been introduced to in the first season and everything. And I thought Andor really landed the plane in the sense that, like, I was worried about not liking it as much as season 1, and there's no question that I like this season better. So I mean, as much as you can tell how much we loved it in the first 6 episodes, I think it keeps escalating, keep ramping up as we go through the arcs. Like the first 3 were probably the low point of the season for me, just kind of putting the building blocks in place. And then we talked about the second arc and how it gets a little better with the Gorman front and everything like that. And then we get more Gorman front in the third arc, and then the finale in arc 4. And I think it just kind of keeps ramping up. Yeah, maybe it hits a high point in the third arc, but the fourth arc is still really strong, I think, too. Because it gives us a lot of backstory that we needed to kind of really appreciate these characters we've been sitting with for 2 seasons.
Mike?
Fair.
I'm curious.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
I love the first 6 episodes, and then I also agree with Ian that it totally ramps up. She told me because he'd seen them all way earlier than me because I was slow because they dropped 3 at a time, which I'm still annoyed about, but that's okay. And
We can talk about that part. That's
because
part of it.
uh,
That's part of
yeah,
it.
it just feel like this we'd still be people would still be talking about it if it would still be coming out now, right? Like week
100%.
by
It
week,
would, and it
and
deserves it because it's that good.
it
Like
does.
that's.
It
I
does
think that's
deserve
part
it.
of our annoyance is that like
Yeah.
this needs to be appreciated. Both of
Yeah.
these seasons, you
Yeah.
know, like
You could chew on and do a full hour plus podcast of every episode, but instead we're having to like cram,
yeah.
6 episodes into one podcast.
It's really just
kinda-
an us problem, is it?
It's it's other review like recap podcasts I listen to, and it just Anyways, but it does do what Ian said. It does get better and build and build and build, and then 7, 8, 9, it really hits. It really hits, and it's like holy shit, that's good. It's not just like, oh, that's good Star Wars. Like that's good TV. Like that is just
Yeah,
good,
yeah.
good. Like it's paying off the setups. It's got something to say about the world you live in today. It's using science fiction to like say something, right? And me and Ian in the first episode, we said it's Tony Gilroy using Star Wars to make points about like that he wants to make, like about
Yeah.
you know um what it takes to do a rebellion and all that. So it's like he doesn't really give a shit about Star Wars and the canon and all that, but there's people there to keep him on the rails, but they still let him tell the story he wants to tell. It's like the best use of an IP. It's pretty awesome to see
Yeah.
that they can do this, and I do credit like Disney and Lucasfilm and Star Wars for like letting him run wild and like tell these stories, and like it's very adult, and it's not like adult in the way that like like Marvel went adult, which is like comic violence and f-bombs. You know what I mean? It's adult in its themes, which is why I like
In
Thunderbolt.
everything, really.
Yes, which is the under like Deadpool is the first MCU movie to like be rated R,
Right.
but it's like Deadpool and Wolverine, sorry, but it's like not really saying much. But like Thunderbolts is the first movie I think in the MCU to have really adult themes, and that's what's happening here in Andor. And anyways, it's also really really well written, like you guys said, and it's like the just dialogue scenes you have to really pay attention to because that's where all the meaty stuff happens. And then there's like this release with the action. It reminds me a lot of Game of Thrones. Like I called it Game of Thrones in space, but in like a positive way. not
People talking in
pejorative.
rooms.
Like it's like people talking in rooms, and you just like grip what they're saying. It's so well written. It's like juicy dialogue and stuff like that, and it's just great show. And I think it would probably propels to my number one in the Star Wars.
Nice.
Because like I always said that the Mandalorian season 1 was my favorite because it's the thing I loved the most of Star Wars since the original trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
It's like where I found love again for Star Wars was Mandalorian season 1,
and it's
and
a fantastic season.
Star
No
Wars.
one's gonna argue. It was
Yes.
it was like an event of an event. It was like
It was amazing.
Yeah.
But the Mandalorian series as a whole kind of went down from the 3 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if I'm looking at Mandalorian as a whole and Andor as a whole, these 2 seasons of Andor are far superior than like the entire 3 seasons of Mandalorian. So yeah, it's definitely the best Star Wars product out there on Disney Plus, and even rivals a lot of the movies. To be honest, most of them probably. To be honest.
Oh yeah, I think so too. Yeah,
I think it's a work of art.
I mean, it's hard. It's hard too to when you. I mean, I don't disagree with you, but it's like, you guys. Oh yeah, well they had a bunch of episodes to kind of tell that they have more time or whatever. Yeah, but
yeah, right.
but still, there you can feel it. Like there's something else here. And there's more here to chew on, even if they only had 6 episodes instead of 12. I think that there's lots that they're doing here that is
even any of those 3 episode arcs could have been their own movies.
Could have been
and in their own right. Would have been one of the best Star Wars movies.
They're 90 minutes. I mean that's pretty much what they are. They're 90 or 100 minutes each of the 3 episodes, right? So they pretty much are like their self-contained movie, which I still like that approach. I think we said that the first time we talked about the first season is I like that sort of self-contained thing. I think one of the reasons why they almost like functionally needed to do it this time was because it needs to speed up the calendar a little bit more. They need to get closer and closer to Rogue One.
They wanted to end it right before Rogue One.
And they almost have to, because as far as I remember reading and hearing in other shows and stuff too, is that this was supposed to be like at least 4 seasons.
5 seasons yet.
5?
What?
Yeah. Like that's how it was initially.
When it was originally pitched, they were like, "Yeah, we could do 5 seasons out of this."
Yeah, fuck yes, please.
I wish we got that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would've-
It's kind of like
kinda
be
nice
careful
not
what you
to-
wish for, though, because I think
Yeah,
we got
it's kinda
near
nice
perfect
not
2
to-
seasons.
Maybe.
So it's like
Yeah, they're
it's hard
tight.
to imagine them maintaining this.
Each episode is so tight and so well constructed. Even when there isn't like the thing is, you guys both mentioned how there's a lot of talking in rooms and there's a lot of sort of I wouldn't even
Political
call
intrigue and
intrigue. Yeah, intrigue's a good way to put it. Yeah, especially with Mon Mothma. Like she's literally a politician. Like you can't have her shooting people and using the force. Like it's just not what she does.
double
right?
meanings to everything.
But,
And
but
the way they talk.
her arc is still the most interesting to me in this entire show in both seasons. One, because the actress is fantastic and just perfect for the role.
Genevieve O'Reilly.
Yeah, she's just amazing in it, and I just think that angle of being this high up senator and how things are crumbling around her. I wish she had more time in the second season because it would give us even more of an understanding of what happened previously in the prequels. And I know there's other TV shows that explore that or whatever, but there's something about focusing on her, and I wish there was even more of her because I don't know. I have always felt that even in the first season that she was my favorite, or the story around her position was the most interesting to me. But I understand also it's not the most action heavy. The reason why I bring that up is that's not where the action doesn't lie. It does for one episode in this season, but that's not where the action lies. The action lies closer to Andor and other characters, and that's totally fine. But I just wanted to see more of what she was doing.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned intrigue. Like this is a show to me. It's about spies. It's like a spy thriller almost. It's on the opposite spectrum of what a typical Star Wars project goes for, right? Like it does have the Star Wars elements. It sits in the Star Wars galaxy nicely, but it doesn't do the same things that like the films try and do. It's not heavy with the Force. It's not very mystical, but like, so it's not like as much about the spectacle as it is about the really strong writing, the character development, and what these people need to do to get a rebellion off the ground among like the baddest empire you could ever imagine. So it's like, yeah, I loved everything about it. I think Tony Gilroy nailed it, and he obviously had this in his head because he worked so heavily on Rogue One, and he had those backstories sort of loosely mapped up as far as what he thought Andor was about when we get to Rogue One. It's just that Rogue One was a bit of a hodgepodge between like the director's name is escaping me right now. He did The Creator. Gareth Edwards, and like the way that Tony Gilroy had to come in and kind of finish the project.
Gilroy was basically brought in to script doctor and save Rogue One because I think they had like a mess on their hands, and he's just
but like you could tell that Tony Gilroy was committed to it, and you could tell that there was more story he wanted to tell, and that's why I love that he came in and did that, because now it actually props Rogue One up, and I think it actually enhances the experience.
Apparently, they also tried to get this Andor series off the ground with like tons of other creators and writers besides him. Like they didn't give him first crack at it, and then they were like, "Okay, what would you do with it?" And he just like cracked the story, like really
Crazy.
like this idea, and then they tried other people, and then they went back to him. They're like, "Okay," and they gave him like whatever $300 million to make season.
Like holy shit.
Yeah, like they should have just let the gun to him first, but thank God they came to their
and we're not.
senses.
Yeah, well, 100% they should have gone to him first. Look what he did with the movie. I mean, he didn't, like we just said, he didn't do 100% of the movie, but obviously his hands were on it, and they should have known that. And it's not, Rogue One's not a perfect movie. No one's going to tell you that, but it's not. The script is not the problem. If he did script, corrections or whatever, like that is not the issue in that movie.
You'll never know what he did and what he inherited.
Yeah,
right?
that's true. That's true. Yeah. But I think like some of this too is that what was I going to say? Oh, Ian, you mentioned it's very like spy, spy thriller kind. Well, he did the Bourne movies, or at least a good chunk of them. Like the Bourne movies are a lot of that too. And then yes, there's a lot of hand-to-hand combat and shooting and whatever. But like the core of those movies is a mystery.
Cerebral too.
Cerebral's that's a great word. Yeah. That is what a lot of this series is in both seasons. And I think there's so much of that with the Gorman stuff in this. We're sort of avoiding some of the
I'm glad you
details,
mentioned it.
but
No,
the
I was going to say
Gorman
we have to get
intrigue
into
is-
the
we have to get
Gorman
into
front
details.
arc.
We got to get into details because
Episode 7, 8, and 9, they're
Yes.
called Messenger, Who Are You?
love
and
that.
Welcome
Love that
to the
title.
Rebellion.
Love that title.
Yeah.
Who are you? Unreal
Yeah,
title.
Who Are You is great.
Unreal title choice.
So yeah, let's talk about the Gorman front. This is the return to the Gorman front. We already had this in the second arc. We were introduced to the Gormans. We knew already of Director Krennic's plot to kind of subjugate the Gormans and turn the galaxy against them and everything because they needed the resources within the planet to fuel the.
it's a
to
metal
build the
or
Death Star.
something underground, something
Exactly,
like that. Yeah.
calcite.
Calcite. That's it.
So
Yeah.
so there's this whole plot, and like that was terrifying even in the first arc. But then in the second arc, we actually saw the Gormans in action. We saw Cassian's sort of hesitation to get involved. I love the different factions within the rebellion. The fact that there's the organized rebel alliance, and then there's still other factions in the galaxy that like they don't want to touch because either they're too extreme, like Saw Gerrera's rebels, or they're too unpredictable, like the Gormans. Just like all these different factions, and they all play a role. And now we're back on Gorman, and we've got Cyril Karn and Dedra Miro kind of playing their part. Like Cyril's, he's been there kind of playing his part, and they're in a relationship, but now she has to come and finish what she promised Krennic she would do. In that, there's these rebel Gormans, they're going to do what they're going to do, and we're going to exploit that and turn everything.
Yeah,
and
that's what I was
It
going
was
to
her
say.
idea.
That
chaos.
whole
It's
thing
their
of-
idea to
was
plant
great.
the insurrection and turn everyone against them, and
Yeah,
he was like
I found that part, and I said it multiple times out loud while me and my wife were watching this season. It was like, I find it so, and Mike, I think you mentioned this before, where it's like, or this idea where it's like he's using sci-fi to tell a story. It's not about Star Wars. It's about a certain angle. It's about things that are happening in real
1940s
life.
Europe. Like,
What's that?
Like 1940s Europe.
Well, yeah, because is this not compared to the French Revolution or something like that? Something like that, right? So it's-
Gormans are
the Gormans, yeah, the
are
French.
based off the French.
I don't know if it's French
insurrectionists.
Revolution.
La Resistance.
Yeah, Resistance.
yeah,
Yeah,
the
So, and they
resistance to
speak like
nothing.
a very French. I mean, they speak a mix of French, Italian, and Spanish. That's what that made up language, the Gorman language, is. It's very interesting because it is not a real language, and it is like very clearly a romantic language. That's what it's based on, but it is its own thing, and it's so cool that they went that way. And that's another leads into the French part of it. Anyways, what I was going to say is that I found the whole approach of which started in the previous 6 episodes and really, really ramped up into this is multiple times over these 3 episodes, especially, and into the final 3 as well. Is and this is someone who works in media, so maybe that's why I have this particular angle of it too. But and also very relevant now, which I don't know that they knew when they shot this, but using media and spinning things in a way that everyone is now on the Empire's side. Like in the last
the
year,
propaganda.
the propaganda since it had like this is part of what it is. It's not, oh, these people are fighting back for their own city and for their own world. Oh, they are the terrorists. They are the insurrection. They are the problem. The Empire is not. They're trying to help them. And like that particular very fine line that is crossed over the course of, like 4 or 5 years. Well, no, I guess it's more like 2 years or 3 years in this. It even though we miss a year in between each set of 3 episodes, you get a sense that this has gradually been happening because the dialogue and the language that is used in order to portray to the public what is actually going on changes at every episode that you hear it and see it. And I think that's also interesting too, because in season 1, Cyril and his mom are sitting there at their house on Coruscant. I believe they're on Coruscant, right? Isn't that where they're from? Yeah.
Yep.
And they're
Yeah.
listening and watching the TV, and it's talking about the Empire. Or it's talking about events that are going. Like that's also a thread that happened years before this, and it's just a very very astute observation that this is exactly how this would happen. And there's a
Yeah,
lot
you're
of that.
absolutely right.
And it's a lot of that happening in the real world now, especially if you want to talk about the US. Like, it really is something that is used for, fascist regimes around the world. It happens all the time. And that is exactly what they're doing here. And it's so interesting and well done, because it's subtle as well. Because you might not pick up on that, but that in itself, even though they're very brief moments,
It's one of the thesis of
is
the
incredible.
show.
Yeah.
Is like who controls the truth, and there's power in the person that can
Very
convince
relevant.
everyone what
Let's
the
just
truth
put
is.
it that way.
And yeah, very relevant, very relevant. Yeah.
Sadly.
But like, you make a great point, Dave, in that if you look back to the Aldani heist, which was like the big thing that happened in episode like 4, 5, and 6 of the first season, that was certainly one of the first big strikebacks against the Empire as far as getting resources and stuff to launch this rebellion. But even in that moment, you saw how the Empire reacted and slightly twisted the narrative as to what happened and made it work for them in much more. So they weren't transparent about what happened. They twisted it to their own gain, and that moment was a good example of what they're doing now, which is even more devastating with the Gormans and everything.
And
taking
part of
out
it
a whole
too
planet essentially.
Yeah, and part of it too is in the real world, sadly, but also in this set of 3 episodes here with Gorman and the final 3 is like, it's the threat of what the Empire would or could do to you is why those things, latch on and why they stay. It's not necessarily even that these people or this group of people or whatever are backing the Empire. They're also doing it just to survive, even if they're not rebels. That's what they're doing here. So there's a lot of intricate, between the lines sort of reading of all those things, but I think that just lends and sort of backs how we think that the writing is just incredible in this is a prime example.
Speaking of not rebels, I thought it was great that the hotel employee that was kind of always always like the bellhop who liked Cassian, like he kind of was on Cassian's side and everything. He was the one to say rebellions are built on hope, which is the line that's revisited in Rogue One and was actually an ad lib not an ad lib, but what I've read is that Tony Gilroy, his son, actually came to him one day and was like, "Oh, what are you going to do about the line rebellions are built on hope?" Because Cassian kind of delivers it like he got it from somewhere. Tony Gilroy was like, "Oh, like I feel dumb. Like I wasn't even going to do anything about that." So he made that, and I think it worked perfectly.
It's great. I love it. Yeah, it comes from an unexpected place. It's so cool.
Yeah, but it hits home in the same way that like Nemec's manifesto, stuck with him too.
Yeah,
right? So,
it sticks with him. You're right. Yeah. Sorry, I derailed us for all the details, but essentially, it's mass murder time.
Building to the best part. Yeah, we're building to one of the high points in the season, and that is like everything that Dedra planned to do comes to fruition. Essentially, the Gorman resistance that Cyril Karn has a part in, being the double agent and everything, feeding information to the Empire. They are foolishly going about this, and they're playing right into the Empire's hand. It's a trap, right? Empire sets the square up and puts up the barricades. They've already built this armory, and they're ready for this thing to pop off, and that's exactly what happens. But the crazy thing is that Cassian's there on a mission to assassinate Dedra, right? Because Willman kind of put him up to it, but he suspects that Luthen's behind it and everything. But ultimately, that is the mission, to assassinate Dedra, because she's such an antagonist, such a villain.
It's not just that the Empire is ready for it. Like, they've designed it that way.
Yeah,
like, they've planned it that way. Like, they want the Gorman insurrectionists to
in fact, they make it happen whether the Gormans wanted it or not, because they're the ones who actually take out their own guys.
When they showed that shot,
they are doing
something,
but it's really the Empire pulling the strings, wanting them to all along. And like, that is
so
such
I'm not
an
gonna lie, I have
aspect.
I have Who Are You playing in the background right now, and as you were talking, Dave, I was watching my favorite moment of the whole season, or the whole series probably, which is basically when Cassian finally has Dedra in her sights, okay? Cyril Karn, the biggest enigma of the show, is he going to turn good? You know, we don't know what's going to happen with this guy, but he's such a loser from the beginning. And now here he is. This is his moment. He sees Cassian, his target from season 1, the guy he's obsessed over and changed his life over because of this guy. Sees him try and take a shot at his woman, even though he basically cut ties with her and tried to choke her out.
Oh yeah.
Now
also, that
is his
scene
moment.
was fucking crazy.
Yeah. Charges Cassian, starts a fight with him. It's like my favorite thing ever, and probably hit home with how it ends, which is basically right before Cyril gets shot by the other Gorman rebel, Cassian looks at him and goes, "Who are you?" Like, it's such a moment of,
Cyril
oh my
him,
god.
Like Cyril has beaten and Cassian at that point too. Like he has him,
right.
And that kind of saves him. So it's like,
but
he's double loser.
I don't know if we can double
loser.
if it's intentional or not, but they mentioned in the first season, like, the axe forgets, right? It's like this idea that if the army's coming at you, like, the tree will remember the cut, right? But the axe will just forget. You're another, you're
just another thing that he hit, or another thing that is part of the day, or whatever. Yeah.
And the fact that he doesn't even register in Cassian's story, like, to Cassian.
It's such a great character moment, because it makes Cyril just like the ultimate loser, but intentionally so. Like, he started out as a corporate, security guard, and then he detoured and kind of went on this obsessive, compulsive journey to find Cassian. He finally gets his man, and it all amounts to nothing. Nobody cares that you exist. You're just dust in the wind at this point.
No, it's as if he didn't. It's as if he didn't really.
Yeah.
What's funny too is, I mean, this is probably, you guys talked about this obviously in the first 6 episodes, but like the first time you see him this season, he's like so excited to be like the leader and teaching a guy, like, I did this one day. Like, he's so proud of where he is when this season starts, and he just keeps getting more and more proud until he starts, seeing clues of like, oh, I don't know about this. He, like you said, Enigma is a great way to say it too, because I actually couldn't quite pinpoint, and maybe it's because we didn't get enough time with him, which is fine. There's lots to do. It really doesn't hurt the season that much, because moments like this and episodes like this really still work. But like, I wasn't quite sure. I was like, is he feeding them the right information? Does he want to still be working for the Empire? Is he still okay with this? And you do get a sense that he's kind of in the middle,
starting to lose it, or really.
Yeah, like he
gives up on Dedra, right?
Gives up on her in the moment, because he's watching people die around him and stuff. I think there's a lot of reason in that exact moment why that would happen, but even leading up to that, he's kind of questioning, like, what do you mean you're just going to kill a bunch of people? Like, he does care about.
Yeah, he had blind faith in the Empire, and that faith is starting to waver.
Yeah, I don't know that we get quite enough of why he's questioning it. You get hints of it, and I think there's enough. I don't think they totally like botch it or anything like that. Yeah. But I still wasn't sure. Like, yeah, maybe he wants to kill Cassian. He wants to kill Andor. I get that, but
well, you believe it in that moment, because it's such a,
either way you do.
Like, he just sees him, and then he, like, blood rushes to his head, and he just goes,
and he just gets
it's a great moment,
shot in the face.
It's what we talked about before, is that, like, everyone is the good guy in their own story, and he's, like, it's like in these, like, fascist regimes, it's like not everyone is, like, super evil, right? Oh.
Bless you.
Like, the people sorry for the people who are the soldiers and the cops, like, some of them probably think they are on the right side of history, and they're the heroes in their stories and their eyes. And I think that's
Dedra's definitely in that boat too, right?
Like, well, Dedra, I think, knows that she's bad and that the Emperor is evil. But I think Cyril, because he started as a security guard, as a cop, like, he thinks he's the good guy, and he thinks Andor is the terrorist bad guy. Like, he is not smart enough, or he just wants to be important, so he doesn't really put blind to it that he's working for the evil fascist regime. Then he comes to that realization in the Gorman like
Mm-hmm.
thing that he's like, oh my god, this thing I dedicated my life to. He's like, they're the bad guys and all this shit. And he's like, then the last thing when he sees Andor, he's like, the last thing he can do is like, do this thing, like complete this mission. Then he realizes that that guy doesn't even know who he is, and he's really worthless at that point. It's like the thing that he's like staked his whole life on and worked for his whole life turns out to be like not what he wanted, like thought it was. It's like actually the bad.
I think it's a perfect ending for his character.
It's beautiful. It's amazing. Great. Yeah,
and that sets off. I think that's probably one of my favorite episodes. But it sets off a chain of like 8, 9, 10, and even 11 are like so strong.
This
like
episode
8, 9,
in particular,
10 trio.
Yeah. This episode in particular was probably my favorite because of all the things we've talked about, and it's not like I enjoy this show when there's no action, when there's no crazy stuff happening. This just happened to have that in it, and still made all the extra intrigue around it.
It's like
work.
It's like Game of Thrones. It has that slow build. I know I said I might have used the word boring when in our group chat, but what I meant was slow build. But you do need that release of that big action episode. That's what really makes it. Is like you have the intrigue, you have the talking rooms, but that's building tension, and then you have that like episode. And that episode 8 was that episode for the series. It was like the Battle of the Bastards episode of Game of Thrones. It was like the big set piece episode where all of the talking in rooms sort of comes to a head and like gets released in this like crazy action episode, and it's just really really well written in that way. And so that's, I guess we can put a bow on episode 8 there. Move on to episode 9. Episode 9 is a banger.
That's such a good point, but 9 is such a banger too. Welcome to the Rebellion, and it's closing off this arc that's still technically 2 years before the events of Rogue One. So when we go from this episode 9 into the final arc, it's like now we're a year away, and it's like they're so close, like everything's getting into place, right? So like a year away from the end
Rogue
of
One,
Star Wars, but Rogue One technically happens moments after the end of this show. But 9, Welcome to the Rebellion, it just solidifies everything that they've been building towards, like the aftermath of this Gorman massacre, everything. Like Cassian has now committed to the rebellion, and his mission with Mon Mothma, I think, is everything for the show.
Oh, it's great. It's so cool.
This is the episode I think, Dave, you were talking about, because it's like we see what happens, the audience sees what happens on Gorman, but then you see the Senate and how the Empire is spinning it.
Yeah.
Right. And they control all the media. They clearly have a lot of these senators like in their pockets. And then it's like,
and she's going around over the course of, was it just this episode? But I think it was a couple episodes.
No, she's been trying to get.
There's scenes where she's sitting down with a bunch of them or walking with them and trying to convince them to be on her side and whatever. I don't think that's just this episode, but like there's hints of that, and they're all just like, I can't. Even the guy, even the senator for Gorman at first is like, I can't. What do you want me to do?
He's lobbying more for his people than he is.
Yeah,
but
it's
but amazing. Like if you go back and watch season 1, they actually plant some really nice seeds where they're already starting. Like Mon Mothma's already concerned for the Gormans and everything like that. So it's like it flows really nicely.
Do they talk about Gorman? Oh, I didn't even know. Oh, that's crazy.
Do. Isn't it mentioned?
It's going to be a great rewatch. I guarantee it.
Is it not mentioned in Star Wars, the movies, the Gorman resistance at one point, or is it only Andor? Okay,
maybe not in the original trilogy, but I don't
know. What'd you think of Bail Organa? We haven't talked
Benjamin
about
Bratt.
Oh yeah, that's
right.
Recast, which is fine, which is better than CG. Which is better than a gross CG character they did with Tarkin in Rogue One. So
like
Jimmy Smits is still alive and around, and they're around the same age, and he couldn't do it because of scheduling issues. That's all.
Is that why?
Yeah, I would have preferred the consistency, but I don't think it hurts the show.
No, because he's also a great actor too, right? So it's
proof that if
it's pretty obvious that it's Bail Organa. Like it doesn't like take me out.
Yeah. It's just he does an awesome job, and it's proof that if you can't, like, it's a proof to recast. It's a proof to not do what Star Wars has done with Tarkin and with Leia to make these like ghastly AI CG recreations of real people, and just freaking find a real life person and recast the damn role, and the audience won't care.
Yeah.
The Leia one,
obviously like Rogue One a lot more than you, so I think they got the right permissions and they went for it. It was kind
They
of like
did,
an
but it's
unprecedented thing.
Tarkin in Rogue One is.
And they could
just
have
god
done the recast easily, but I thought it was a nice moment in Rogue One. I honestly did. I thought it was like, it's enough of Tarkin. Like, there's not too much of him. It's just kind of like an homage, and I thought it worked.
Well, that was going to be my point about Leia. Is like she's literally in it for like 4 seconds.
And it absolutely works in that it looks enough like her.
And it's the
But
worst.
when you
4
roll,
seconds you've ever seen.
it doesn't
No,
matter
Tarkin-
about the
for me, Tarkin's
It honestly,
worse. For me, Tarkin's
it doesn't
worse.
matter about the quality of the CGI. Like when you watch the end of that movie, you see a glimpse of Leia, and then you roll credits, go right into A New Hope. It absolutely works. She looks enough like her in the original that it works. It's a smooth transition. Like, yeah, the CGI is a little crappy, but I think you
But
could
just the
even
use
make an
of ethics
argument that you could
around you.
improve on the CGI at
No,
any
no, no.
moment
I don't
in
want
time.
them. No. I don't want that argument at all. 'Cause
No,
that-
you just don't
I want the
CGI at
argument
all.
of.
Yeah.
I want the argument of this. Do what's been happening for whatever
50
decades
years.
and history.
Yeah.
If you can't get the person, recast it. Your audience will be fine. Like
They'll
The
figure
thing
it
that
out.
those, I'm
They'll
not
figure it
saying that those, like, if you compare that and then you add Dial of Destiny and having like a younger, de-aged Harrison Ford play Indy, like, I'm not saying that those should be the bar or like the way going forward. I just think that it worked in that moment. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I think the way going forward is paved with Andor season 2 with the recasting.
Like,
of Bail Organa.
ultimately, the
That's the
best
way to do it.
example of what we're talking about is season 2 finale of The Mandalorian, which I thought worked. I think if you wanted to do a whole series with Luke Skywalker, you'd have to recast. But if you want to use him in a moment like that, you can do whatever you want with
I know what you
CGI.
mean, in a 4-second clip and all that. Yeah, because like he showed up as Bail Organa, and I was like, oh, is that it? But they did get a lot more to do in the later episodes.
Yeah, he
so then
did,
it makes more sense. It's like if it was the one scene, maybe a CGI Jimmy Smits, I guess. You know, they would have gone with, but
But he
I
pops
do
up in
think
at least 3 episodes. Like, at
I
least,
do think the
right?
recasting
So-
is a better way to go. I just think like people don't want to see like ghastly AI recreations of dead people in their movies. I don't want to see that. I don't know about you guys, but I'd just give it to someone.
You've yet to see Romulus, right?
Right. I haven't seen Romulus.
Oh yeah, right. Forgot about that.
I just think that, like, it's always going to be a point of controversy.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
I think if you're going to make the decision, you got to do it tastefully and hope for the best. And I think
It works better in
certain
Romulus.
instances, it
works
works
better in Romulus.
And in certain instances, it's like, all right, yeah, you shouldn't have done that. But I think Rogue One, as a movie that I actually like, it doesn't hurt my enjoyment of the film.
Yeah. I know a lot of people kind of that Moff Tarkin scene especially rips up. But anyways, we've spent too long probably talking about it. But
Well, it's literally Tarkin standing and staring through a window. Like, it's not a huge part of the movie. So
Yeah.
if it is a big contention for some people, I don't know what to tell you. Like, it's literally like less than a minute. Like,
Yeah. And then Leia's less than 5 seconds.
yeah.
What was I gonna say? Oh, so I forgot what I was gonna say. I was gonna lead into the last 3 episodes, but I feel like we're missing something
Yeah,
on
well,
this last one.
That was the big
The big-
mission, like I said. So-
getting
big speech, Mothma's
getting Mon
speech.
out. Getting Mon out
Yeah.
was a fantastic scene. Like it
it
was
was like a heist movie, like Ocean's 11 type of movie. Like
it was
crazy.
so great when she does her speech and she exits and there's like the standoff, you know, and you know that the people that are working for Organa are you know, at least they're hired guns, so to speak. You know something's going to happen, and just the way that all just sort of comes to a head in the moment, like in that sort of little, like, I don't know, whatever area there when she exits the Senate is just, it's so good.
And Cassian actually got to like do a mission and like do
as
actually like
part of the organized
like-
rebellion. Like,
before, like nothing
Right.
he's done before this was like a successful mission. It all was like things going wrong with him stealing the TIE fighter
And
and
sort
him
of
being captured.
offshoot and stuff too.
Yeah,
Never, like,
he was kind of minor, and him being like on Gorman to kill Deidre, which he didn't get to do. He was just kind of there observing. Like this, he actually like he got to go and he was integral in saving Mon Mothma. If he
Yes,
wasn't
it's a
part of the
great point.
rebellion, he would have never Mon Mothma would have never survived. So like
Well,
he's integral in that way. The first 2 missions he does in this series, he doesn't really matter. You could remove him from those things and nothing changes.
well,
This
no, I would
mission,
argue that he was
can't.
instrumental in Aldani, which is is also
That's season one. I'm talking
pivotal.
season two.
Yeah.
No,
Season one.
I still think he has a point, but I know what you mean, Mike. I think it's a little bit in between. I think he still needs to be there, but I
The first
I
two
agree.
missions, like he does save them in the wheat field planet, but like that mission goes sideways, and he just like happens to save them. Then he doesn't execute Deidre. Like he does nothing to impact the Gorman uprising. He's more observing, and that's how he gets K2SO. I guess that's the most impactful thing that maybe.
yeah,
So,
K2,
yeah, which is a
That's
a good segue because that's kind of where the episode ends up too.
Yeah.
But also, I agree with you, Mike, because where we know his importance from a Rogue One standpoint, and that he needs to be part of that team, and he needs to recover the Death Star plans. This is like the most important thing he's done in the series of Andor, kind of legitimizing Andor as a show. It's like he saved Mon Mothma, he saved the rebellion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then he goes
And
and
he said to her, like, make it worth it. Right?
Yeah,
So
and then there's like all those hints of
Which
like
she does.
of Mon's driver. And he's like,
Oh yeah.
"Hey, you're so and so." Bam, just fucking shoots him.
I
and
love
just-
that moment too. Yeah,
It's so good. And then and then they've never, they've sort of worked in tandem together for so long without knowing each other. And Mon's just like they're in like the safe house, and she's just like, "I don't know how to thank you." And what does he say? He goes, "Just make it worth it,"
Make
or
it
something.
worth it. Yeah.
Oh my god, fuck
That's a
yeah,
good line.
so good.
He gets to tell her welcome. He gets to tell Mon Mothma, "Welcome to the rebellion."
Like,
true.
like-
And
Yeah.
oh,
that was sweet.
so good.
like her being at that safe house was important too, just because if you think about it, like she realizes he was living there and he's been a part of the rebellion. So it's kind of like when you see their interactions whenever he's on Yavin and they're like going forward, you can tell that she has an appreciation for Cassian.
Yeah, because she's like, your way around here. Like they find a way to have that little moment of exactly what you just said, and I think that goes a long way for sure. And it could be you could miss it, you could miss something like that, right? But you're right.
Yeah.
There's more depth to that 15 seconds or that 20 seconds that they have in that moment that means so much more than it would otherwise. That's a very good point.
And I think we have to talk about kind of where this episode ends up, right?
There's two characters that we have to talk about for sure.
Yeah.
Obviously Luthen is a big part, but we'll get to that.
Before we get into the big
that,
finale, before we get into the last arc, let's say what they teased that they set up here. So
yes,
the big return of a major character from Rogue One, K2SO.
Yeah.
We knew it was going to happen eventually. They kind of teased in season 1 that this is going to happen at some point with another version of him. But in this case, okay, the Gorman rebel, who actually was the one who killed Cinta, rest in peace.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah,
he is the one that takes out this K2 droid that was attacking Cassian, right? Cuts him in half, deactivates him, and they get this junk droid, and they're able to repurpose him into K2SO, into the friend that we know, the companion from Rogue One, the great ally, because he does kind of dial it up for them, like taking him from spies to more like warrior action heroes, because this guy can really do some damage.
Dude, they really show you in these couple of episodes just how crazy powerful these things are. They're
like Terminators.
It's so cool to see, because I was trying to figure out why it's funny every time that they're killing people, essentially. It's because they're so lanky and awkward looking, yet they have so much they have so much power that things just like a body literally flings off them. Like it just bounces off them because they're so strong.
I want to know, were you excited for the return of K2?
I was I knew it was coming, so it's not like, oh my god, I can't wait, like this is such a huge surprise. But I was worried that they were either going to go too far with it and he was just going to be comedy nonstop and it's just not going to feel right. But it's written so well that the comic relief that he provides is great. So I thought it was handled really, really well. How he's introduced and all that was good. I don't know about that being like the cliffhanger. Like I was like, okay, well,
the fact that they you knew that he was going to be, so when they go a year forward, you already knew he was going to be part of the crew.
Yeah, but
when he took the body off of Gorman, I knew that was going to be
100%. Yeah.
But
like correct me if I'm wrong. Is not the cliffhanger?
Yes, at the end of Welcome to the Rebellion, it's when they reprogram him and Cassian grabs the gun to make sure that he's.
Yeah, I was like, but that could have been a
good.
scene at another point in that episode. I was like, okay.
Oh, how did you feel about the return of K2?
Fine. Yeah, it's great. But the more powerful scene was the one that happened right before that with Bix leaving. Right?
Yes.
That
That was a big
that
thing.
was the one that
Yeah.
that hit hard. So yeah, K2SO, Alan Tudyk coming back. That was great. They obviously had to work him in. Like they're doing the prequel series to Rogue One. He's a big character in that movie. Like of course we're gonna get how they meet, and I thought it was well done. It was handled well.
Yeah.
Like I think Ian mentioned in our chat. Like it's like a it's like the best examples of how to do prequels, right? It's like you're explaining how things happen, but they feel natural and not forced, and like it makes sense with the greater story.
Which is so hard to do. So you have
It
to
is.
like, how do you do that in a prequel properly? The show is the example of how that happens.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can't think of too many
force
examples
it.
where it works out, right? Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
to this
Like the
magnitude,
worst
like where,
example is Solo, and then the best example is Andor.
Or
like-
So both examples
In this
shows.
franchise at least, yeah.
like we'll get into the final arc and we'll get into how you feel about the ending, and we'll get into how it plays into Rogue One. But even if you remove Rogue One from the equation, like the fact that there are going to be a lot of people that like this show more than Rogue One is a testament to how good the show is. Like they made a prequel that is arguably better than anything that's come before.
Far superior.
Oh, for
in my
sure.
mind.
Yeah.
Far superior to Rogue.
So it's the one thing that legitimizes. Like if anyone were to make an argument that you can't do a good prequel, this would be the
Yeah.
safe bet to say, yeah, you can.
Yeah, look what you can do. Look what you can do. Yeah.
I think there's been lots of good prequels. For some reason, when George Lucas made that prequel series, it kind of like tainted all prequels in a way for some reason. But yeah, like my favorite Indiana Jones movie is technically a prequel. So they've been around for a long time.
Right. Technically, it's like 10 years
And-
before or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, Temple of Doom. It's
Yeah.
technically
But
a prequel.
like, not to take anything away from your favorite Indiana Jones film, but I don't think your enjoyment of Temple of Doom is impacted by the fact that it takes place earlier than Raiders. Like, it's not like something that is
It doesn't
really
feel like a
like
prequel.
it's
Really.
it's not. It doesn't play like a prequel. It's just the fact
No.
that he decided to do that.
Oh, I
But
see
he's
what you
not
mean.
like setting up Raiders.
Like making a prequel, but specifically to explain things and like set up, the precinct. But yeah, I know what you mean. But let's get into the third act because I'm not sure I totally agree with that point because I kind of think that this show, the third arc, the 10, 11, 12 is like, well, 12 is probably my least favorite episode of the entire show, and I think I can only imagine what Tony Gilroy could have done if he didn't have to like force it to link into a movie.
You didn't have to
And
push
just,
it together.
Yeah, he just got to tell a story using Star Wars about anti-fascism and rebellions and didn't have to link it to anything, right? Because I do think the final episode is maybe the worst episode of the entire series.
Okay,
The series
Let's-
itself is amazing.
So
let's
I want
definitely dive into this, but I have to ask you if it was a 23 episode series, okay, everything played out the way it did. They didn't feel that they needed to do episode 12 of season 2, and they left it with, okay, he made it to Yavin, he's a rebel now,
right.
like, and this is a prequel to Rogue One. Like they didn't do any of those
Season
other
one.
things. Are you saying that it becomes a better show? Are you enjoying
Like
it
if they
more? Or are
drop
you
the
saying
final
that they
episode,
missed?
is it better?
Are you saying that the show is missing one big like last? Because for
We
me,
should save it for
the
final
last
episode.
action is kind of a blend of 11 and the beginning of 12. Is the big kind of okay? We made it. Like we're home now. We're part of the rebellion, and that was enough for me. So it didn't matter that it wasn't a huge episode 12 because the rest of the series was so impactful.
Yeah, no, I don't think it really mattered to me either. It just could have been different. Would have been different, I think, is more what I'm thinking. Would have made way different choices. A lot of things that happen in episode 12 only make sense if you intimately know Rogue One, which is weird for a show. The show can't stand alone and exist.
Okay, I
on
know
its
that you've
own.
only seen Rogue One once, but what? So let's just get to that. What is confusing about the end of the show? I don't.
Like him going to meet him, the big climactic moment in the finale. Do you want to just get right to it, or do you want to talk
It's
about?
fine. We can
anything about
talk about it.
10
It doesn't
and 11?
matter. Yeah, we can jump around
Okay.
a bit. It's fine.
I guess I guess him, it all leading to him going to meet some guy that I don't know who it is, and if you just watch the show, you wouldn't know who he was. It's not a satisfying end to a show. If you remove everything you know about Rogue One, and imagine you're just someone watching the show for the first time, and you've never seen Rogue One, maybe you've never seen anything Star Wars, and it's a show about Cassian, and you're trying to watch this character go through an arc of 2 seasons. Like, do you think that's a good ending for him? Like, he's just going to meet someone that you don't know. You don't know
I'll
what's going to
play
happen.
devil's advocate.
Right?
I'll play devil's advocate.
No, but with Rogue One, sure it is. But we all
Right.
know Rogue
and I'm
One,
on the record
so.
of loving Rogue One, but
Yeah.
and I love how that blends in. But if I'm even going to remove Rogue One now, because I'm such a big fan of the original trilogy, and I know how they basically set up the idea of the Rebel spies in the crawl of, okay, Rebel spies stole the Death Star plans. Rogue One paints the picture of how they do it, but if I'm just watching Andor and I don't know Rogue One exists, I'm going, okay, they've set up this guy who now knows of the Death Star, and he's on his way to retrieve the plans. It could be the most boring retrieval. He goes and meets Tivik. Here are the plans. Now let's get it to Princess Leia.
Do they mention he's on his way? I don't think they mentioned. Oh, I think it's just he's meeting Tivik. I don't think the Death Star
No,
plans
Well,
are mentioned
but
at all.
that's the plot. The plot is basically like the Death Star's a thing, and we can't convince the rebellion unless we get hard proof.
Yeah,
You
they
think
they
someone who
set
knows
it up
what Rogue One
as.
picks that up? What do you
I think
they
if Rogue One didn't exist, or if you completely remove yourself, which there are definitely people who have watched the show that have not seen that movie, or don't know,
do?
the
Or don't
original-
remember it. Yeah, like
or don't
me,
remember it,
yeah.
or don't know the original trilogy.
Don't know
as
who
well as we
Tivik
do.
is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, look, honestly, they said the name, and I was like, who? And then I
Yeah.
remembered, oh, the movie
Is this one
opens.
building too?
Well, and then the movie opens like that. I was like, oh, okay, that's what they're talking about. Didn't take me long, but my very first reaction was, do I know that name? Whatever, I figured it out. Anyways, removing that movie, even if it didn't exist, never mind saying I liked it or didn't like it, just if it didn't exist.
Yeah, imagine.
I think the thing that they could have done, I don't think that it's a problem, but I think what would have maybe improved it, which is sort of what you're saying, Mike, a little bit, is like, I think it's pretty obvious that this guy has critical information related to what they've been doing, especially in the last couple of episodes, and getting these plans and understanding that this is a weapon, not understanding what type of weapon, but just that it's a weapon and it's been this secret plan the whole time. That's pretty obvious. I think that's okay. But I think if they made it a little bit more explicit of maybe they don't have to drop the name Death Star because they don't know what that is yet. You know, the rebels don't know that that's what the name is. So that would feel a little bit weird. Like, oh, we're going to nickname it the Death Star. Yeah, but you don't even know what the fuck it is. Like, you think
It's actually Tivik who says that's what it's called.
right. And because the name has been circulating throughout, ranks of the Empire. So that's why it exists, right? Which is what we learn in this show, is that the name has been circulating around secretly, which is also an interesting point too. I think they could have maybe done a little something where it's like more explicit about what this guy is trying to tell him. The only problem with that choice of maybe doing that and making it more obvious or making it more, I don't know, explicit, it's the same word that keeps coming to mind, is that then it's not a secret. Then this guy's not holding information. He's giving it away when he says the only person he wants to talk to is Cassian.
Yeah, because again, he's one of Saw's rebels, and you can't trust anybody.
They don't say anything. That all they say is Tivik wants to talk to you, Cassian. They don't say what it's about. And I think what if you watch Rogue One, what the whole thing is that Tivik, like, Cassian's trying to convince them the Death Star exists. They don't believe him. When he goes and gets the information for Tivik, now you have like a secondary. It's like a journalist, verifying a source. You have a second independent source giving the same information. Now you have two sources that convinces the Rebel Council that it's real.
But he also kills him too. So
yeah, but without that Tivik meeting, it's like, you really need Rogue One for Cassian's story to wrap up, and it's like, they act like him walking to a ship to meet this guy Tivik, which you know nothing about. You know what he's going to tell him, but of course we do because we've seen Rogue One. But if you were just never seen Rogue One, you're just watching, you're like, watch this Andor. I mean, for 20 years, watch Andor. It's an amazing two season television. I don't think the final episode's going to hit people, and then I don't think the final shot hits even 1/100th unless you've seen Rogue One and you know what happens to Cassian of Bix holding the baby. That really hits hard because we know what happens.
Yes,
that's a
yes
great
and no.
point.
Yes,
That's a
and
great
no.
point that you just raised. That's the final shot of the show. That's supposed to be the hard-hitting shot.
And so if I were to recommend someone to watch Andor, I would say watch Rogue One first. I'd say watch Rogue One first, because if you watch Rogue One second,
Good.
it doesn't hold up to how good Andor is. So like watch Rogue One first, so that the baby scene hits hard, and
But I think the thing is about
I think that would be the order.
I
You'd
disagree.
watch Rogue One first, and then you'd watch 2 episodes.
I think there's an
of Andor.
advantage to either approach, but I think the thing is about Bix and the baby as well, as which is a great choice. I think that's an awesome choice. I think, again, even if the movie didn't exist, there is a lot of talk leading up to that exact shot and that exact moment of, oh, he's not going to go back to her until this is all over. You know what he's talking about, it all over, is the Death Star. You understand that that's what it leads to regardless, because, or at least a decent amount of people will understand that this is leading into...
Well, almost everyone, like, in our lives in chronological order, like, this show comes out after Rogue One, everyone kind of that watches it will know. So that's why it works, right? Because everyone
but
that
I
watches
think even if Rogue One doesn't exist, I think you still understand that he's committed to this cause, and this is more.
Well, he's not as committed as she is. She's the one that's more committed than him, and he wants to leave the rebellion.
Because
she knows.
She
that
makes
if
the
he finds
choice.
out-
but if
she
he
knows
wasn't
that if-
committed, he would have just left and gone to find her.
No,
Exactly. She knows that making that choice is going to make him solidified in the rebellion.
And in the
And she
moment,
knows
maybe
if
she
he
knows that she's
knows
pregnant too.
he's
So there's
pregnant,
that too,
he's going
right?
to leave
So-
and find a quiet life with her. That's what she knows, and so she's making the big sacrifice to leave him. So that
What's
he's forced to
wrong
stay
with that?
her.
Like all these
Yeah, that's
characters are
fine.
so compelling that
I didn't say that's a
all
bad
of the
thing.
characters in the
It's very
show
noble.
have
I
like
think,
a
yeah.
critical
She cares about
piece of the puzzle.
I didn't say it's bad. I just would say she's the one that cares much more about the rebellion than him, and they have the conversation where he wants to leave. His Lux runs out. He stays in. He's going to die. My Lux run out. All these missions, and he knows that if he keeps in the rebellion, he's going to die. That's his end. He's going to sacrifice everything.
which is why that
Rebellion-
last
and
shot
he
doesn't
wants to
matter
find-
if Rogue One exists or not, because if he knows that
He
he's
wants to
probably
find
going to
a quiet
die,
life.
it's still heartbreaking.
I guess, yeah. And
Right?
he wants
That's
to
my
find a
point.
quiet life with her, and she forces him to stay in the rebellion by leaving. Right?
Yeah,
That's what I
that's fine, and I think that's
and
fine.
then once you see her with the baby, like at first I was like, man, that was cruel that she left him. Like
I know, because you
my
don't
wife
really
and I
know
both
why.
said-
You're like, what the
But
fuck, lady?
now when they has the baby, you're like, oh shit. If he knew that she was pregnant, he would take her and pick up and leave. 100%,
Probably, yeah,
and find
probably.
a quiet place to live and raise their child.
Yeah.
And so she had to leave him at that moment and take his baby away from him.
Yeah.
And the fact that he dies in Rogue One is what makes that final shot like an all-timer. But I'm just saying, if you hadn't seen Rogue One, I don't know, right?
I think it still means something. Maybe it doesn't
might
hit
think-
in the exact same way,
Yeah,
because
well,
you're
not
right. The
yet.
information's not there, but
You
it's
always
still
think the hero's going to live and he's going to find her one day. It's way more impactful knowing that he doesn't, right?
But
Like
I
that
think
makes it
just
better.
based on the way TV and movies are just made and stories are just written, is the assumption is he doesn't survive. I honestly think that people's minds go there, that she left,
Really?
and the
Don't
reason
forget,
why
they
they
put
hang
in-
up with that shot and tell you that there's a baby that exists is because you're led to believe that it is very possible this guy's never going to return, and that's why this is sad, or that's why there's extra emotion in this. I just think that is just if you ask someone who knows nothing about Star
That's
Wars
for
and
people in 20 years from now who didn't grow up with Star Wars and Rogue
I
One,
think they could
rewatch
watch that and be under the assumption that the way that this is portrayed, just in general, not even just Star Wars or just
But in
Andor.
most stories, the main character doesn't die, right? So in most stories, you're trained to think
Right,
that
but the
there's a
story's
happy
not
end.
over.
Right.
You know that the story for both of them
Say
is not
most
over.
stories. This story doesn't play like a typical hero's
No, it doesn't.
journey.
No, that's true.
So I wouldn't say like Sopranos doesn't end nice. Like I wouldn't like say that all stories have
He's
to
an
end with
anti-hero. The anti-hero's always got to get their comeuppance. The traditional heroes will live, right? Not the anti-heroes, obviously.
Until
Okay,
Rogue One
so
comes
I-
along.
Until Rogue One comes
I have to
along.
mention this because I first made the argument, well, you don't need to watch Rogue One after and whatnot if it still stands alone. But I think it's enhanced by the fact that when you consider his arc, the fact that Cassian went from this guy who's just looking out for himself, he kills those two corporate officers because he has to, and then gets thrust into the rebellion. But he's been fighting, I guess, since his home planet and everything, since he was like 6 years old. He says.
Yeah.
Then you go and you fast forward to Rogue One, and you see the first thing you see from this guy, because he didn't sit right with me when I first watched Rogue One, right? Because he kills Tivik, so he's doing what he has to for the rebellion, but he's not like Luke Skywalker or someone else who would try and save everyone, right? He's doing this he's operating in a gray area because he's like a spy. So when I now know what I know, and I'm watching this show. And everything plays out the way it does with Luthen, and we got to get into Luthen and Clea because that's the biggest.
So that's the one thing I wanted to say with these 3 episodes.
But what I was just saying is that Cassian knows he has to do what it takes for the rebellion, and everything that Bix does and everything like that kind of pushes him in that direction. But it's way more believable now. Like where he's coming from when he kills Tivik. Because he realizes Tivik's a loose thread.
Well, I do think I do think
it's
that
a very big part of his character.
I do think the Tivik scene. I remember watching the movie in the theater, being like, oh my god, there's no crawl. This is fucking sweet. I love that. First of all, the choice, and then that opening scene to Rogue One, initially seeing it, I don't think works as well without this. Like that opening scene definitely works better now that you have the context to it.
Oh, 100%.
And that's that doesn't make me dislike the movie. I didn't dislike it or anything, but like I do think that
it might be different for Power because Power didn't like the movie, but this is a movie that I liked, and even within that movie, I was like, Cassian's okay. Like, do we need an Andor series?
All of us. Oh, yeah,
I was now when I watched the movie,
we saw that
he takes center stage for me.
Yeah.
When I watch the movie now, it's like, yes, Jin's important. He's helping her, but everything that we've seen in the 2 seasons of Andor make you go, "Oh my god!" Like this guy is so pivotal to everything that's going on.
Now you 100% think less of Jin Erso because like she just comes.
It's not. It's rising tide raises all ships. Like it's not. It doesn't bring her character down. It's just her. It's just that Rogue One focuses on her hero's journey. But she needs this spy, Cassian Andor, to get there. Like,
so the true hero of this show, and especially this season, is Clea. There's no question.
Clea.
There's absolutely no question that this character just went from
skyrocketed from a nobody to like from a serial Karn to like the pivotal rebel.
Like she's unreal this entire season. Every fucking scene that she's in. The actress is amazing. She's written really well. And then in this arc especially, she just goes fucking badass. And it is so satisfying and so well done. This is her season. Like, never mind.
Oh, yeah.
Like, this is all about her, I think. Absolutely amazing. I think she 100% the standout of this season for me is this character.
Yeah.
Like, no question.
Yeah.
Obviously, Luthen is great.
Well, like Luthen is obviously pivotal, but the everything they do with the backstory, like we got to get into all that because everything they do when you realize that Clea is not just another replaceable lackey of Luthen's, like she's actually the reason why he's doing it. It makes her so crucial,
or puts him over the edge at least, right?
Yeah. Like, well, if you think about it, like he was kind of like teetering, right? He's a sergeant or whatever he was in the Empire, and he's responsible for murdering, and he doesn't want it to continue. And maybe he makes an eventual turn. But discovering Clea is why he decided to jump into action.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
she's everything.
That's sort of half the episode of flashback of her when she's younger and sort of teaching her about what you need to sacrifice and then be patient and all of that really, plays into us appreciating them as a partnership, but also just the approach to rebellion as a whole, how you have to play the long game. He's teaching her that when she's whatever she is, 12 years old or whatever it is when he finds her. So
yeah. Elizabeth Dulau, like I heard it was her first acting gig, like from straight out of acting school. So like Clea just
unreal,
exceeded expectations. Like went from a character that was whatever, like another cool character from season 1 into like one of the most important characters of the series.
Yeah. So in this, the way that it all plays out is that Dedra finds Luthen, sort of shows him an old piece of great scene of the two. Just great. Two great characters and actors just ripping things apart. It's really cool to watch them basically just have a war of words back and forth for 5 minutes. It's so good.
You should touch quickly on Lonnie too, and how they get to that.
Oh, yeah.
Because
So
Lonnie was the one who revealed that they're working on the Death Star.
that they're working on that it's a weapon instead of whatever it is,
energy project.
Yeah. It like,
and he makes the sad cry, like sacrifice for the rebellion that no one's gonna ever care about.
Yeah,
but
which is
he
sad
made a
too,
big
'cause
sacrifice.
They make you care even more about him, because in the moment he's like, my wife and kids, and then the next time you see him, he's got a hole in his chest, like. Fuck.
Which
shot,
I know we want to talk about the Deader scene, but like him mentioning to Lonnie Yavin was an interesting moment, because I feel like Luthen was always going to kill Lonnie, and he just wanted to see if like he knew what Yavin was. That's how I read that. Yeah,
that could be.
Poor Lonnie, he was doomed from the start.
Yeah, but a cool, interesting piece, how it really shows you that there was the long game involved, because this is a guy that gave information to Luthen like once every 2 years, which is so crazy to think about how slow that is and how careful they needed to be. Anyways,
there would be like times where Luthen would show up and he's not even there, and like stuff like that. Yeah,
it's really interesting, really cool to sort of see those intertwining sort of ways of how it all worked. Anyways, so the reason why I want to get to the scene of him and of Luthen and Dedra is because she's got him. She's got Luthen.
She like the Cyril Karn moment. She finally got what she was trying to do.
And then it doesn't quite play out the way she wants, because he tries to kill himself. And she starts losing her mind, and then we learn that
it's crazy when you realize how much she needed him alive.
It's
kind of nuts the way she went about it.
And then you learn over the next 20 minutes or something that she went out on her own to do this without authority, and that Luthen doesn't quite die yet, and now it's up to Clea to, not finish the job, but make sure that he's gone so they don't, he doesn't survive.
Pretty sure we all like the scene, but what did you think about his choice of like, I'm just going to stab myself?
It's great. It's great. Like he's talking about sacrifice. He kills a bunch of people.
On point,
and he's like,
on
fuck
character.
It, I'm going to.
Yeah.
I liked it. I think it's like it. Obviously, for the plot, it makes sense that he survived and whatnot.
Yeah.
It would have been cool to see him trying to like blow up the place or try and take Dedra with him, but like I guess that's asking a little too much. But we needed it to go the way that it went. But I thought it worked.
And then
That's true.
The hospital.
He didn't have much. He used what he had.
He used what he
at his
had.
disposal, right?
But like Luthen, even the burning of the thing, he's like, I'm going to take care of it. Don't worry, Clea, you get out of here. I'm going to take care of it. And then they even get stuff out of that. Like he didn't even finish. Like that's what I mean about blowing it up. Like that would have been like completely wiping it out. And the Empire was able to salvage some stuff from his.
I think he knew. Like that's why he he saved her. It was his last sacrifice
100%.
to save her. He kind of knew whoever went back could have been fucked.
Yeah, because he's been protecting her from the beginning, which you kind of see with the backstory.
That's like his one weakness. Maybe was
okay.
Her, right?
So Clea becomes a real badass because when Luthen survives,
the born Clea. That's what the
the
born Clea.
She knows what needs to be done, even though he made the sacrifice for her. She knows in his heart of hearts he wanted to be dead and off the table, off the board. So she goes to finish the job. Now I don't know if anyone would have been confused, but I think her character portrayal has been pretty solid up to this point. Like it was pretty obvious to me that that's what she was going to do, but I think they definitely played it in a way where it's like, oh, she's going to save her like father figure, because we got the great like flashback and everything. And did anyone notice that first like terrorist attack, that first bomb that Luthen set off and made Clea watch? Did you notice where they were?
Were they on what's it called?
No.
Naboo? It looked like Naboo.
Yeah, it looked like it. The bridge,
which was so poetic,
because
that's where Palpatine is from, right? So it's like the first act against the Empire is like on Palpatine's homeworld.
It looked like that's what it looked like, because it was like, sort of like the beige sort of designs and the sort of dome and stuff. Yeah, it looked a little bit like, and it would be 15 years before or something, whatever it was.
Yeah, so she has that great scene where she just busts in and she's really causing chaos for the Empire and takes out Luthen ultimately.
She's so efficient and so good at what
curing
she's doing.
Dedra's fate.
Yeah, that they think it's a team that pulled this off, and they have to figure
Yeah,
out
that's
that
right.
it's one
Yeah,
person that
one.
did this, and it's like, oh shit, it's
Yeah.
so good.
Well, Dedra doesn't stand a chance after what she does.
Exactly,
After what
yeah.
Clea
And then
does, yeah.
like there's small moments in her sort of like heist, if you want to call it that, where
It is
she's
played like a heist kind
it
of.
is, yeah, 100%. Because she goes and she dresses up like one of the nurses or doctors or whatever, and then she's like wheeling like one of the older ladies and using the old lady to like get to a different floor, and the poor old lady's like, "What's going on?" Like she's like, "What?" Just like little
Yeah.
things like that. It's so funny.
Well, yeah, they're spies. They're all spies, right?
It's
Like the
gr-
people
it's
that made the
fantastic.
rebellion possible were a group of spies.
Yeah, it's so well done, and they spend an entire episode on this. When you think like, oh, it's time to wrap stuff up, but nope, this is what we need to spend time on.
Yeah,
This is
Andor
what we need
doesn't
to know.
appear at all in the episode.
Yeah, is this not the second last episode or third last? I can't
Yeah,
remember.
second
Last,
last. No, sorry. It was episode 10 was when
10.
it pops off, and that's what Cassian's not nowhere to be found, and then we kind of have the resolution of saving Clea and everything across
Yeah,
episodes 11.
it's just I
and
just,
he saves Leia, right?
yeah,
and then
he
episode
said- yeah,
11.
that's right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, but that's kind of my point. That's a big moment, and even though it kind of mostly happens in episode 11, and we get some action in the beginning of 12, like for me, that's the big finale to the series. Is like, oh, we kind of take for granted some of these characters, like we don't see them in the original trilogy. So in Rogue One, for example, it's a perfect example. Like we just assume everyone's gonna die. And then I kind of had that assumption going into Andor, and we get some of these characters like Clea and Wilmon who actually get to live on and like
yeah, and they're
survive,
probably
and they're
getting some shit done in the background. We just haven't seen them, you know.
right.
that's
And even
awesome.
like even regardless, it's like it's kind of nice. It's like Clea that is such an important character, and like everything Luthen was basically working to save, right? And it's like, yeah, it's like poetic in a way. She gets to live on Yavin and continue her days.
It's yeah. Even though she didn't want to, and you know, Cassian has to convince her, and it's I don't know. You really see and feel how much she has sacrificed and what she's been through in the last little while too. Because when she's in that safe house, she's just like, I'm not going anywhere. Like this is basically like this is it. Not that she's like ready to die per se, but like I can't go there. Like for what? You know, that's not where it is.
Yeah.
That's not what I need to do. Like all this stuff, and it's just, and she's all, you know, she's beat up, she's all disheveled and working so hard to contact them and stuff. And it's just like, she really, like without her, nothing happens really.
I agree.
Like nothing
1000%.
happens. Like
And, like-
Gorman's one thing, but without what she does in these couple of episodes, nothing happens.
And like Power, you mentioned Luthen as well. It's like it's not to take away from Luthen. Like I feel like they're a package deal, but it also explains a lot, like of Luthen's motivation and everything. So it's like, as much as the rebellion wouldn't exist without Luthen, it also wouldn't exist without Clea.
Yeah.
And it's said out loud, like none of by Cassian in the finale, like none of you would be here without Luthen, and like
That was probably one of my favorite moments too, though. It's like
yeah, I love that.
everything that was like everything that brought us here was like for better or for worse, also due to Luthen. And because he's not the best guy, because he's willing to like do bad things to get to that point, it's like he's seen as this outcast and not part of the organized rebel alliance, and therefore not
They don't wanna
pivotal
believe the
to.
information.
It's like they're discounting his, and Cassian's the only one standing up for Luthen. Yes,
Yeah.
I knew the bad, but I also knew the good, and he's willing to kind of say what needs to be said. in that
Even though he
moment.
doesn't really love Luthen, you've seen that. where
Exactly.
He's just like he fights
Yeah.
against him constantly, right?
Yeah.
But then Luthen, I think,
Which he
says in the last time he sees him, I think, says something along the lines of like,
You were always meant to be in the grave, or whatever.
yeah,
like,
something like that. And it's like, yeah, like absolutely, like you showed up. I kind of knew that you would show up. Like you get the job done. Like he's his guy eventually. Like all of that stuff just plays really, really well. Yeah, and I think like to Mike's point about the last episode, like I don't think a ton happens, but it's okay. They wrap things up.
okay, we're talking about a show that was like we like it for people talking in rooms.
Yes.
There's so much people talking in rooms in that final episode. Like it's hard to just reduce it to not much happens. Like we've got Vel reconciling with Cassie and they're having a drink over everyone they've lost, and when you realize how much they've been through and they're the sole
They
survivors
just name everything
of
off.
Aldani and everything, like
Yeah.
everything, and then Vel and Mon get to kind of live together on Yavin. Like I don't know, every character that was set up in season 1 has a glorious payoff in my mind. Like
Yeah,
Yeah,
Partagaz kills
season 2.
himself.
Yeah.
Nico ends up on the prison planet. Like everyone gets their fitting end. Like we saw with Cyril.
Oh
getting
yeah,
the perfect
Dedra
end.
on the prison planet. Oh my god, I
But
fucking
every
loved
character
it.
gets,
I
like,
loved it.
Oh yeah, that was amazing.
It was
Everyone
so
gets their
good.
fitting end, right? And it's like, oh, she's still helping the Empire, just in a different way.
Yeah.
Building Death Star parts.
Mon gets a haircut. You know, we're good. We're all up to date
Mon gets
now.
a terrible haircut. Yeah.
Yeah, which it's kind of wild when you realize that like Mon Mothma is not actually in the first Star Wars film. She's just a big part of the rebellion overall.
Yeah.
But she's not in the first film, which is kind of crazy when
I
you
know
think
because
about
Oh,
it.
she's
she's
like
not?
she's
Oh,
she's
she's
front and
so good.
center in Empire, right at the beginning.
Empire,
right?
yeah.
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 Um,
Yeah, no, it's like the episode is definitely needed, but the way that it builds to this final walk of Cassian flying to meet someone, I think, and I don't know, but I was just thinking to someone who'd only watched this series and nothing else, that might feel like, wait, what? So they got this information, then what? Like you definitely want to know then what, right? Like if it wasn't Rogue
Sure.
One, you'd want a season 3, and maybe there'd be a season 3, but instead you
Okay.
have Rogue One. So that's
I'll
fine.
do two things real quick. I'll play devil's advocate and say if you just turned on this original Star Wars trilogy, it kind of covers it in the crawl, right? Because your argument is that Rogue One never needed to exist. I'm saying that Rogue One
didn't
does
get it.
exist, and now therefore Andor doesn't not exist without Rogue One. So if you do prefer Andor, it's like Andor's great. But my other argument to play the other side now, because I love Rogue One, is
Yes,
that
now I
it
have
actually
to love Rogue. Now I have to thank
No,
Rogue One
I
for giving me Andor. I think
Well,
because now I have to like appreciate Rogue One because it gave me Andor. So it's like
I think at the very
positive
least, I'm
appreciation for
curious.
Rogue One.
I'm curious to see how you feel about Rogue One after watching it again. Now that
yeah,
you know what
that
you
would
know,
be interesting.
because for me, it was like watching it in a whole new light and appreciating some of the characters a little more, including things like Saw Gerrera and Mon Mothma, and just seeing this kind of like it does play as like a big grandiose finale to the Andor series in a way, and I love it. Like, yeah, it has other elements like Jyn Erso and everything, but it doesn't kind of take away from that. It just kind of
Like,
adds to it, and it
Devil's
makes it
advocate.
a better experience.
I agree, and I think like even when I was watching it, I was like, this makes Cassian's arc in Rogue One so much better. Like that's what the wife and I were saying. Like, wow, like,
1,000%. Because I'm hoping
now
we
his second
have
arc
a
is so much better.
a
But-
detailed conversation about it, but essentially even the details of like him going back for Jin is so much more believable because that's who he is. Like you see him in Andor, he's always going to go back for the person who's left stranded.
Even Saw Gerrera is like makes way more sense now. You see a lot more of him now than just whatever. But like to the devil's advocate to that is like I would like to judge a movie on its own merit and not have 24 hours of homework to do before I can understand and really hit hard with the movie.
But
So that's the devil's advocate to that. And when I watched Rogue One, obviously I hadn't seen any of this. So yes, now when I watch Rogue One, I think I'm going to enjoy it a lot better. But again, judging a movie on its own merits, I would probably might still feel the same in my like.
which I completely understand because I just said an hour ago when we were talking about Captain America.
Brave New World, right? Yeah, you were.
And like even if I've
Yeah.
seen everything, even if I've done the homework, which I even didn't for that movie technically, it you know, I don't like that part of those movies anymore.
No.
It was different when there was 10 of them and they all really connected and they were a little bit more tight and you know whatever, but then things just got too big and out of control, and like maybe Star Wars isn't to that point exactly, but it's I get it that the homework for a movie or a show doesn't always feel great, especially if you may or may not really quite enjoy what part of that homework is, whether you've seen it yet or not, right? But I get that. I totally understand that point because movies
should be able to, exist on their.
It should. It should,
it's
but
nice
I don't think Andor needs, or I don't think Rogue One needs this show in order for it to make sense. Like, maybe the first scene, maybe a couple small details, but I don't think you're like, I don't know. I just don't think
no. Like we all
I
watched
think your
Rogue One
mileage
before
may
this.
vary on Rogue One. Yeah, like I think if you
Sure.
liked Rogue One, you already
Sure.
liked it. Like you didn't
Yeah,
need
exactly.
a
And it's
series.
kind of
Yeah.
it's really really nice for fans of Rogue One that you now have this, which then makes Rogue One even better, right? And
Sure.
like, what point do we just get every single moment explained in all of Star Wars? 100 years from now, our kids are going to be able to sit down and
I mean,
basically
there's always
watch
going to be that cynical
a
side
week.
to
Like
it, right?
you could
There's
sit
always
down
going to be
and
that
watch.
cynical side to it.
Well, it's not
Because you
about
could say,
cynical. I'm just
you could
saying.
look at something like The Acolyte and go, well, we didn't need that at all. Like we know the Jedi have been around. We know, like there's always with any prequel, there's always going to be the argument this is not needed. This is not necessary.
Oh, you
And
can
I think
say
what
that's
Andor
not a great
proved for
prequel
me
of any
was
story.
like
You can
we
say
did
that.
not need a
Simply.
backstory to Cassian Andor. Like that one moment at the beginning of the movie is not enough to justify a series. But what we got out of it was some brilliant
Yeah,
television.
you just have to hope that what you get out of it is done as well as this
Yeah.
show is. Like that's,
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
you're never gonna know that,
This
obviously,
is
but
rare.
you're right.
You're
The-
not going to get like this every time. Like this
No,
is like
no, of course
the
not.
pinnacle of what you
The
can
Penguin's
get.
another example, right? Like the
Yeah,
Penguin,
that's.
I did
Penguin
not
was
need that show,
Yep.
but that show was
But
amazing.
I'm just
Yep.
laughing. Like they could put like two seasons of Andor, Rogue One, the original trilogy in the theaters, and you could like have a 2-day event,
Mhm.
right? Now, how much more are they going to build out? Maybe our kids in 8 years from now, it's going to be like you could go to the theater for a week straight, and like it'll all be like filled in every gap in Star Wars. Who knows? They're
Yes,
gonna milk
yes
it,
and
I
no.
think.
I don't know. I mean, I mean,
Well-
that's what the Mandalorian is. It's explaining. I mean, it's
Yeah,
not really
exactly.
explaining something, but it is giving you a moment.
It's
But the reason
filling
why
in
we're
every gap of that original
well, the thing is
trilogy.
with something like Mando is that it's not explaining necessarily something, but it's filling in a gap of time with an original story. So at least there's something there.
Yeah,
I think
not quite the
your
same, yeah.
argument with this is that it's not per se. I mean, it is original because it's originally written, but
Yeah.
like it's not based on any other material, but it's not characters or a link that we, you know, I guess Mandalorian links to stuff eventually, but not as explicitly as this, right? Not
Yeah,
as
yeah.
explicitly as Rogue
Funny
One
from
and stuff,
Tony
so,
Gilroy. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So
but I don't want
get
to
it.
take the show. Like, I just meant the ending to me. It's like the ending. I think if he was making this with all the things he wanted to say in his own story, would be way different than how this ends with him going just to meet someone, and it's very.
I don't know
Unclear,
though, because I think the passion for this project came out of his work on Rogue One. So it's like
probably.
But
he
he's
always
not-
had
he's
the
not
story
like a
of Rogue
Star
One in
Wars
mind when he was
canon
making this.
obsessed guy, right? He's like,
It's not about canon though. It's about the fact that like he made a movie that he's proud of, Rogue One, and this everything he's doing on Andor is in service of that. Like I want to make Rogue One make sense. I want to make a story that is believable that he went from A to B to C. Like
I think what you said when we started, Mike, is that this doesn't need to be a Star Wars show, right? It's that good,
Yeah, that's
right?
what I'm
It's
saying, yeah.
in spite of it being Star Wars, it's still a very well made,
Yeah,
well written
exactly.
show.
Yeah.
So whether he is the person who was from A to Z or start to finish with Rogue One, he still created the story and the characters and the through lines that he wanted to, regardless of what it's related to, right? Like regardless of if it's even related to Rogue One, he still made it work and did his own thing. So I don't think that the canon part, it probably has to happen, obviously, because of who
yes, it has to land
it
there.
has to
It's
land.
like
But
this
it
ending
but
place,
it
yeah,
what's
yeah.
great, and I don't think any of us are arguing this. What's great is that it works even though it links to it. You know,
Yeah, and like you
even though it
said,
does.
they
It's
were
like
gonna
I
make
have this
this
story to tell and these things I want to say, and if I use your toys to tell them, and I'll get more viewers that way, and my message will reach further people. So I'll fit it into this canon. But really, what makes it great is about what he wants to say, and he's
Of course,
It's
yeah,
like
yeah. That's why it's better. Yeah,
he's
that's why it's a
delivering
good
us
show.
through this
Yeah.
medium, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yes.
good even if it wasn't linked to anything else. It
Yes.
didn't.
But
Have to.
earlier you were saying how like he really had to kind of pitch this, and they were going to go a different direction, and they ended up going with Tony Gilroy. So I think like we can kind of look at it as a success story of like he got it
Yeah.
done. He was part of
100%
the
success
movie
story.
that they're
100% what they should do
prequeling,
more of,
and
right?
he built masterfully to that moment to where it makes sense. Whether you like the movie or not, it makes sense where they get
So
to.
I think
He
sort of
it makes sense too. Yeah, I would agree. Yeah.
yeah. I think what we now want out of something like this, whether it's him or some other creator or group of creators, is that make this type of intrigue, make this caliber of show. Again, the bar is now very high because of how good this is.
Yes.
But try to do something like this, which feels original, even though technically a lot of points are not original. You know, the links to this and the vines to this all go to one area, but make something like this that is not related to those 9
And
movies. Or
as
those
much
10
as we'd
movies.
like
We're
to
still holding
see,
up for it. That's the only thing that can come along and top this.
That is what we need.
well, maybe
Maybe
As-
it's the probably the never going to come out Ryan Gosling movie. I don't know. Something.
I
Well,
think
with
you're saying
Sean
Ryan
Levy?
Johnson trilogy. Ryan
the
Johnson
Sean
trilogy.
Levy Starfighter movie, or
Whatever the
whatever?
fuck it is. Yeah, no, the Ryan Johnson thing's not going to happen. I lost hope.
Yep. The Sean Levy thing, Dave, is not going to be the one to do it. I'm sorry.
I know.
to
I'm
tell
just
you.
I'm just saying, like,
But the
you know,
Ryan
but-
Johnson trilogy might.
it's not going to happen though, so it doesn't matter.
Really?
That's not happening. Any of that shit that they talked about like 5-6 years ago, it's
Dave,
done.
rebellions are built on hope.
There's,
So don't
exactly.
give up hope.
There's no Taika Waititi film. There's
no,
no
there's
Ryan
no
Johnson
Taika film.
trilogy.
There's no right. Yeah,
But,
those two guys could have saved it, but again, like that ultimately that's I think collectively, whether it's the 3 of us or a lot of other watchers and fans and stuff, is I think that's where we want things to go, and I think they're maybe inching that way, which is why they've put a lot of these other projects on pause or completely canceled them. Like there was supposed to be 2 other trilogies. There's supposed to be at least 1 other movie that none of those are going to get made. You know, like we were supposed to have another Star Wars movie already, or very close to one, with a couple others not far behind. None of that is happening. None of it.
We
What's
are
this
getting
show-
the
what's
12th
this
Star Wars
show-
film in The Mandalorian and Grogu.
That's
Yeah,
true.
which
That
is
one's
true.
happening. Yeah, that's
But
true.
do you like this show is like super popular with like us and people like us and you know certain film Twitter kind of type
You
people?
mean
But
the
like,
cool kids?
do you think? No, I mean like the nerds. The deep nerds.
The not so stereotypical millennials.
Does
That's
this?
right.
Yeah, is this? I don't think this is like the $1 billion like general audience for quadrant thing, right? Like this is like I don't know how the views on this are gonna be, but like obviously the reviews and stuff are gonna be great. But like they're a big corporation. Do they care more about the dollars, the dollar bills, and the ticket sales, or the critical acclaim? Like you know what I mean? Like it's
I think
not
something like
always
Star Wars
gonna, like-
needs to operate in both. They need to have the big spectacle Mandalorian and Grogu type movie, and they
yeah.
need to have some nuanced projects as well.
I just
Andor.
hope that we
Do you,
don't
like,
know.
did it do well? Do you guys think? Like,
Well,
did
so
it?
that's
like,
the
did
thing.
you see anything?
I think it was
Was it the
probably
most
somewhere in the
viewed or
middle would be
something?
my guess, because I think there's enough people
okay.
that want to watch it because it's Star Wars, and there's enough people like us that continue to tune into things like this and recognize that it's fantastic. And I think word of mouth is its own type of
It's like the
marketing.
summer movie wager when we get cynical about what audiences like
Yeah,
versus.
no, so
what's
I
actually
don't
good,
think
right?
this is like a smash hit, and I don't think the first season would have been either.
shame.
But I think my hope is, and you know, you said cynical, Mike, so you know this is just obviously blind hope, but my hope is that they hear that this is really well done, not that just the numbers matter, that what was made here was great stuff, whether it's critics, bozos like us, or just the other general public. Like, just hear that this was fantastic, and please do what you can to do something more nuanced. Just do that. It doesn't have to be an entire trilogy of people talking in rooms, or one movie of people talking in rooms and then have one action scene. It doesn't have to be that, but just say something, which is not happening with a lot of Disney products in general, I think.
Yeah.
And this feels so great because it almost feels like it's not part of that grouping, even though it's linked to them.
Totally.
Right. And that's why it works, because it's subverting so many expectations, and it's just written so well, and the you know, cast so well as well. Like all of those, it just fucking
I think
works.
Andor is not devoid of fan service, but it's probably one of the best examples where you don't need to flood the project with fan service. Like, there's a good amount of fan service in there, don't get me wrong, but it's not focused on fan service. It focuses on a lot of other things first.
100%.
So I think that's what makes Andor work so well.
Yeah.
Um,
They say the
and I
word.
think-
They say the word force like what 5 times? Like
I like that
Yeah,
they worked it in though. I like that they got the
even
Force
that
healer in
moment
there.
though, that's a big moment because the Force healer sees something in Cassian and kind of validates what Bix's choice was. And
yeah.
before
which
we
you don't
wrap
realize
the
till afterward,
conversation on
yeah.
Andor, we should say like Adria Arjona as Bix was quite an outstanding character as well. Like I just think like she did a lot for that show. Like yeah, she was kind of in season 1 relegated to being tortured the entire time, but then how that played to her characterization in season 2 and how she was kind of like the rock that like Cassian needed to
I was worried that they were
reconcile
gonna.
with.
Yeah, I was worried they were gonna treat her kind of the same way because at the beginning she's just emotionally
Dr.
distraught.
Forced or
Yeah,
whatever,
she's
yeah.
kind of like secluded and she's taking drugs or whatever it is. Like, and then that changes a little bit, which is great, which really works. So eventually,
The
things-
last shot
the
of the
point of the show
series
is
is her and Andor, Cassian Andor's son,
Yeah.
just kind of like at peace.
And what do you? I think the point of the
Safe.
show is how many different people need to sacrifice, right, for a rebellion to work. And like sacrifice like so much,
Everything.
and like even her, and it's like all of them are important. If any one
Yes.
of them doesn't make the sacrifices, the whole thing falls apart.
Mhm.
If she doesn't leave,
Yes,
Cassian,
Brasso
tells him-
mattered.
Yeah, tells
Oh,
Just
so,
as
I was so
Brasso,
sad when he died,
all
man. It
of
was so
them.
sad.
tells him that she's pregnant, then he leaves with her, and Mon Mothma never escapes Coruscant. Like the whole thing doesn't happen. So it's like the whole rebellion is built on all these like intricate like building blocks, and you can't remove anyone. Everyone's so important. And then it's
Yeah.
like Luke Skywalker comes in, and I think New Hope takes place in 6 days, and comes in at the very end and like gets all the glory. But really, it takes all these people sacrificing.
Really, everyone we just saw from the
And,
last 2
yeah,
seasons.
Everyone's
really
way
did
more
the
important
work.
than him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they did
they're
the
really
work.
the ones that did the hard work.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Luke
I was
sucks.
so annoyed that he walked in.
Think
and
about-
just, like,
It's like the same in
Like,
anything.
what
Think
the-
about like Harry Potter. Like Harry Potter doesn't, succeed without his entourage.
Without his buddies.
It's the
how
same
dare you
deal.
hate
It's
Harry
like
Potter.
I just mean that, like,
I know nothing about Harry
Luke
Potter. so-
Skywalker is the
I know nothing about it.
stereotypical hero. Like Luke,
Yes.
I'm not taking away from Luke. Like Luke goes through the classic hero's journey, but like you said, he's thrust in the middle of a galactic civil war. So like, there's things that brought them to that point.
Yes.
Right,
Yeah,
and
and
he
this
gets
is, like,
the
the
big
thing that-
glory moment of destroying the Death Star. But in order to do that, we had an opening crawl that suggested that Rebel spies managed to steal the Rebel plan or the plans to the Death
The
Star.
plans,
So
yeah.
Yeah, totally. And that's what the show like explores. And it's,
It's
great. But
just
it's also commenting on-
really, really goddamn good.
Yeah.
And
So good.
it's probably it's something that we'll probably I'll probably revisit at some point. Probably start from the beginning, from season 1 and stuff.
you
I
have
would,
to.
I would look to that too, and then watch Rogue One again. I would
And
look
then
to that. I think
props
Rogue One hits
to-
harder. I do think it would.
Props to Diego Luna and like obviously everyone involved, but also Stellan Skarsgård. Man, Luthen
Yeah. Oh yeah.
was a massive
Yeah.
piece to this.
I've
His
always
monologue
loved.
is like the thesis of the whole show.
Of the
His
whole show.
monologue
Yeah.
is probably it's like what the whole show's getting at.
I always liked how he was very much like playing 2 characters. Like I loved how he switched tune multiple times in this season of being, the guy who sells all these expensive wares and then being Luthen. Like, he did that more explicitly, like at the same party in the same moment than he did in the first season, and he does that so well. Plays it up so well, like that.
He
was
fucked
perfect
Saw
choice.
Gerrera up too. Like
Yeah.
Forrest Whitaker as Saw Gerrera is a great addition to this show as well.
He plays a
I mean,
crazy
he's
person
great in-
so well.
He's great in Rogue One, but he makes so much more sense now
Makes
that
more
you've seen the
sense
show.
now. Yeah.
But like he really gets fucked over by Luthen. Like it's crazy. Like he really
kind of
makes
he
him
makes
way
his own
more
bed a little bit,
paranoid.
too. He makes his own.
No,
bed
but
a
like
little bit.
Luthen makes him decide. You can like I'm gonna hand this over to you. You can help Anto Krieger or agree with me that he's a lost cause and that like it's better to keep it a secret.
Yeah, and I think
So
it was
he
in the
kind of
first-
turns him to the dark side in a bit, like,
Yeah, a little
in a
bit,
way.
yeah.
So
before I don't want to keep going back to other points and stuff. I'm pretty sure it was in the first 6 episodes where Saw and the rest of his crew are hanging out as a planet from episode 9, or sorry, from 9, 7 from Force Awakens. That's where they're set up.
You're talking not Segra Milo, the one in season 2. You mean?
I don't know, season 1 or season 2, when he's teaching them how to disarm the sort of.
Oh, season 2, yeah.
Is that season 2. But I couldn't remember if it's the first 6 episodes or these 6 episodes where they show that scene. I think it's the first 6, right?
Yeah, and 4, 5, 6.
Yeah, and 4, 5, 6. That's the planet that the rebels or that the crew sets up on in Force Awakens. That's where their base is. That's what that is.
Really?
Cool.
Yeah, because like when I saw it, I was like, oh, that's the same frame that they use at the end of Force Awakens when they come off the Falcon and go to Leia after things.
Well, even a tiny detail like
thing.
the Rhydonium or whatever it was that he's huffing on.
Now you know what
like
it
that,
is.
Now when you watch Rogue One, you're like, oh my god, he's huffing on gas. This whole
He's just
time.
getting
that's
high.
crazy.
I thought it was like oxygen. No, he's getting high.
That's so wild.
All right, how many years until we see a son of Andor appear in something?
It's definitely happening for better or for worse.
Yeah,
but this is where I hope.
10
okay,
years?
irresponsible speculation time. This is where I hope we get Uncle Harlow, who was never mentioned or seen again. We got him throughout the series, but he's kind of like it was like left alone. It was just like, oh, Uncle Harlow's the benefactor that got you your job with the Empire.
Right,
but like,
right. Yeah,
I definitely thought they were building to more than that. And then like, okay, I think this was very intentional. Tony Gilroy has stated as much, but Cassian's sister was never found.
Oh, that's right.
But that was a big part of his character. Like he was always like,
season 1. Yeah.
he never went back for her. So now when he goes back for like Mon Mothma, or he goes back for Jane Eyre, so like it kind of makes sense. Like he's missing this void in his life, right? But if there's gonna be something with Cassian's son, we could reintroduce the sister into the mix.
This is the worst idea ever, and it doesn't make sense because the timeline just does not make sense at all. But what if Andor and Bix's son is Broom Boy?
Oh my god! And then we get Broom Boy's
that'd be
blood.
hilarious.
It doesn't make any sense because it's like 30 years later, but that'd be amazing.
Right. Does it not make sense? I'm trying.
No,
it wouldn't make sense.
No,
it's like 30 years.
Yeah, it's like 30 or 40 years later.
So his son is like 2, right around when Luke.
Broom Boy's not 42.
No, he's not.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe he is. I don't know.
Age is different on different planets. I've seen
That's right.
Interstellar.
Yeah.
Okay,
Time moves
this
differently.
is a random question, but is there a world where Clea was actually Cass's sister, and then they never knew?
I thought you were gonna say
shit.
when Clea is Leia.
Is there a world where Clea is Leia?
Oh, Leia.
People thought
Leia.
she was Leia, by the way. That's
What?
Because of,
yes.
like I know it's different
The
actresses
names are
and everything,
the
but like
names are too similar.
That's
the
that
way
would
that
be-
Luthen found her, she was just kind of on her own. Like it could
which
be
is why it could be
conceivable,
Andor's
no?
sister. That's exactly why
Right.
that could happen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No,
I don't know how I
I
never
think they
thought of
would've-
that. But
I
I
think they would
don't
have to pay
know.
that off
I don't know relative
while he
like
was
the
alive.
planets, like the systems, like where they are. Like I
Yeah.
don't even know if that would make sense. I don't actually know that detail.
In a
so,
hurry.
yeah, I
But Marva did basically say that she's probably dead, given on what.
which
what
is why
happened
you
with
think that
Minari.
she's not. That's
Right.
why like because that just surprises you that she's not. You know, like I
Mhm.
don't know. It might be a little too much heavy lifting to reintroduce her because they don't say anything about her in this season. Like there's a very quick shot in the last episode of him
Flashbacks,
thinking about it, and that's it. That's why I almost completely forgot about it. They showed that shot and I was like, oh yeah, that was in season 1. I forgot about that. So I don't know. It would take a lot of work to sort of make you maybe care.
I give it 10 years and less. I get 10, 15 years for Son of Andor. If the movies flop,
Oh,
I might have
less.
to-
It has to be less because I don't think
The
anyone's.
movies flop.
Yeah,
I think in 2026 we're gonna get a Rogue One re-release at some point, being like, oh, 10 years since Rogue One, and I think it'll do some numbers now that it's got like Andor fans behind it.
yeah,
yeah, I would see it again. I think it would hit way better now. I honestly do. I'm gonna watch it again. You guys know.
Yeah, we started it. We just didn't. We didn't finish it, but I want to keep going. I mean, honestly, just to get to the ending, because like The rest
Even
of the movie I
critic-
still enjoy, but that ending is just fucking fantastic. Like it just is.
Like I
Even I
love
said
Ben
the ending was
Mendelsohn
amazing.
as
Yeah.
Orson Krennic,
Yeah,
and the fact that he's in this show was obviously
Great.
kind of needed him, but like
Yeah.
I think he was in it the right amount, and like the way he played off Dedra and everything, it was just insane.
I'm thank
It's
God he
great.
was in this show because he got the best. He got better. He got more to do and better things to do in this show than he did in Rogue One. It was a better use of him.
Sure.
here, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. No, he was
Yeah.
great.
Finally.
It
A good
also
use of
makes
Ben
sense
Mendelsohn.
how frustrated he is because you've seen the journey that he kind of went to be at the head of this project and like where he has to go from there. Like they send him off to like, you know,
He chews the scenery on that scene with Dedra, and it's like,
Yeah.
this is
Oh,
where we
yeah.
got Ben Mendelsohn.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
this is paying off. This guy.
but he points out the very real thing. It's like you went off on your own and did this. Like that's the dumbest thing you could have done. Like if you just engaged us, and you wouldn't be in this mess, and you probably wouldn't be on Narkina 5 at the end of this thing.
She goes, oh man,
Narkina, one of them, but not 5.
Well, you don't
Is
know.
that how
Oh,
they
I
were
guess-
numbered? I don't remember.
Well, you don't know if
Narkina,
they
Narkina
could've
5
cl-
was men only, but there were
Nah.
other Narkinas on there. So she's in
Whoa.
one of them.
Is
Probably.
Narkina
Where are you
the,
getting this
is Narkina the
intel?
planet, or the just
Narkina
name
is
of
the
jail?
planet, and like I don't know, because like Narkina was like
think
the
it
planet.
tells
There was
you.
like multiple prisons, but he was on like
Yeah, there was a
5.
bunch in the water. Yeah,
Oh, there were.
Yeah,
Okay, I
he
don't
was on
remember
like 5, which was like an all
they
male.
were like the raft in the MCU, but they had like
Yeah.
5 of them.
that. But they had a bunch.
only
of them,
because only because it was clearly an all male prison.
it
But
was.
there's probably an
that's
all female
true.
prison that's
It was all
Narkina
male.
4, or
Yeah.
Narkina 3.
Even the
yeah.
guards, like everybody was. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, she was on Narkina 6.
4, 5, 6.
4.
Yeah, not
4,
5, 6, 4.
2,
The woman version.
The woman,
Save your emails.
Narkina woman.
But even that detail of him being in the prison that's actually building the Death Star.
Oh,
like-
it's just so. It's so good.
insane.
man.
Still contributing. She's still contributing.
Yeah,
in
still
some way.
contributing. She's still doing her part.
Yeah.
Just
She
don't
can't be
stand
too
on the
upset.
floor at the wrong time. You can still do your part.
She was kind of like her character's kind of tragic in a way because she was kind of
Yeah.
always in a prison,
Yeah.
right? Because like her whole life was like serving the Empire and everything, and like
Not as
It was a very
tragic as
fitting end.
Cyril.
I love it. I love it.
Tragic
I love,
but
I love how they.
deserved,
I
right?
love
Like a
how they
deserved
handled
trip.
both of them. I love how they handled both
Yes.
of them. It was fantastic.
it was the perfect
Yeah.
perfect ending to them both.
Okay, let's get out of here, gents. That is more MCU and Andor talk. We have probably some movies to review. Maybe we should start doing that, sort of wrapping up our movie wagered picks or wins from Mike. That's something we need to do too. We will touch on some Severance if we can remember what happened to that show now that it's been already like a couple of months since it ended. We're going to try to catch up on that too.
But
But
rewatch that.
we should, I know, honestly, parts
Tell,
of it.
Tillman or whatever his name was in Mission Impossible for a bit.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Yeah, we got stuff to talk about. We'll be on your podcast feed as much as we can, and it's the summer, so there's movies to talk about. There's wagers to keep track of, and we'll keep you posted, everyone. Day back in across social media, and of course across your podcast apps of choice. Give us a rating, tell your friends, and also should have mentioned this off the top, but video versions now for at least some of our episodes. You can find that on the Remember 64 YouTube page, which is where I have my other show, but let's put it all together. Let's make it all happen. And I think that's pretty much it, gents. Go Star Wars, go MCU. Let's see what comes next. And that's it, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Ciao. Goodbye.